Hello and welcome to the full story of What If Deku Had a Timely Kick Genkai. I hope you enjoyed the entire series, but I put this in because I'm out for views, so you're welcome. Please enjoy all the buttload of I'm joking. I mean, that's essentially what all videos on YouTube are, but I just wanted to make a meta joke. I hope you don't hate me for it, but I hope you enjoy the full story. But yeah. I'm just gonna put everything together. There'll be like a little lapse in between every part, and it's just gonna continue with the recap, just in case someone wants to come back and listen to the recap and continue on. I'm gonna keep that in there this time, and just enjoy and have some fun. And without any further ado, we will begin with this 2 hour long story. All right. We begin this part with Deku being told of what his quirk was, as Ujiko would say. So their son seems to be a sort of mutant type. He has the ability to control time to a certain extent. Is he going to be okay? All of a sudden, he started just getting headaches, and the next thing I knew, he started running around like a flash, said Inko. Mom, I'm fine. Doc, what do I have, huh? Asked Rowdy Deku. Ujiko would laugh, saying Deku seems to have something to do with time, like he said before. We don't have it all figured out yet, but we're going to name it Chrono. What do you think? With a thumbs up, he says that sounds pretty cool, and he jumps down from his seat, asking if they can leave now. And Inko would say, Izuku. Sorry about him. He's always kind of jittery. I'm full of energy. That's different, okay? Said Deku. Izuku then says not to worry about it, as he proceeds to tell Inko that they have to come back in a week, but she should make sure that Deku doesn't eat anything sweet because it did influence what happened to him the first time he did use his quirk. With a nod, Inko stands and she takes Deku and they go home. And the next day, Deku went back to school. As he enters his classroom, Bakugo is the first to yell for him. Hey, you got your quirk? Deku would nod, as this is when the kids start to near him and instantly start to surround and ask him what he can do. The teacher would then come and tell them to give him some space, but Deku says he really doesn't know what he can do yet. Last time I just moved. I just moved, sorry, said Deku. With the look of disappointment, the kids say it's okay because at least he has a quirk like Bakugo, because none of them have their quirks yet. Slowly, they start to get back to their seats, as Bakugo then asks Deku what his quirk is about, or if he even has the slightest idea about it, and he would say, it's something to do with time. Time. That's pretty strong. But I'm still the strongest, said Bakugo. I never asked, says Deku, with Bakugo then starting to say that he should shut up, and the two start to bicker while the others feel weird about stepping in. The teacher is the one to stop them, and she was too used to it because it happened all the time, but they two were still kind of fairly close, so she thought it was okay. When recess came, Deku would be trying hard to use his quirk because he could not get Bakugo's voice out of his head, and with a grunt he closes his eyes and keeps screaming just as he feels something weird in his left eye. He opens it and his eye begins to see things differently. The falling leaves look so slow and it's as if they were in slow motion. He blinks and everything returned to normal, but everything had a tint of blue as well. Cool, he thought. From afar, Bakugo would be showing off his quirk to others, and everyone watched in amazement, and he then saw Deku acting weird and he smirked. You're never gonna beat me, because I'm the best, he thought. Days would then pass, and Deku returns to the doctor as his quirk is fully tested, and these are his parameters. Quirk Chrono. From his left eye, Deku releases a sort of circuit that allows him to accelerate his perception, and he can spread that circuit to his brain, allowing him to calm himself down by slowing down his brain, and he can also accelerate his thought processing. Also, these circuits for now could only be spread to his right hand, allowing him to speed up his punches and give him incredible power, but it is only limited to his right hand for a while. His outburst of speed seems possible with the ingestion of something sweet or more training, but it's more so less like impossible right now, since he has to spread all the circuits all over his body to move that fast. And he can only after a bit of training, he'll probably be able to do it without sweets. After learning what he can do, Deku starts to train and show what he can really do at school, and compared to Bakugo, though it's not as flashy, he's not ridiculed for it. Meanwhile, Bakugo starts to act like an elitist, and he just gets worse and worse as he starts bullying kids, and one day, he and Deku would square off, but Bakugo brought friends. Deku stretches before Bakugo and his friends, asking, so, you ready to get your ass beat? Bakugo would pop a vein saying he's gonna destroy him. Don't get ahead of yourself, Deku. My name is Izuku, you roiding idiot. If you haven't noticed by now, Deku is much more of a straightforward individual. Along with this, he has an individualistic mindset, yeah. He will save people, but he likes to only focus on himself in terms of power. Like, he's kind of an egoist in certain terms. As a matter of fact, he asked Bakugo to meet him here because he was sick of him not to protect someone, and he wants to beat his ass, that's all. But he just wants to beat him up. But yeah. Hey, Bakugo, wreck this guy real quick, shouted one of his friends, as Deku would then glare at the one who said this, but he returns with a smirk, as Deku says to just attack already. And his left eye would then change as Bakugo blasts forward, as does Deku. However, as Bakugo throws an explosion, Deku appears before him and slams a punch into his stomach, and as Bakugo chokes on his own spit, he falls over as Deku comes down with a punch. He barely rolls over as Deku craters his punch to the ground, and he pulls back his bleeding knuckles out, and Bakugo's goons are left astonished by this power. Meanwhile, Bakugo starts to blast and blast at Deku, and this begins to push him back, as he would say, "You're not getting lucky again, Deku." "My name is Izuku," said Deku, as he will then punch while dragging the circuits to his right hand, all of it, and the power will then release a shockwave which blows away the explosions and allowing him to blitz and slam his fist into Bakugo's jaw. He is sent flying until he crashes, and the goons become wide-eyed, and they then feel Deku's gaze on them. They turn to see him then walking over with heavy breath as he asks if they want to join in, and with a look of fright they run off as Deku smirks, but then he starts to feel pain in his shoulder. He may be able to make his punches more explosive, but he's not physically stronger. But with this, he wins, and he walks past Bakugo, who found it hard to even move. His brain was kind of rattled, but he watches Deku walk off, and we have a time skip. As time passes, the boys come to hate each other a lot, but they never really fight again, and they keep getting stronger on their own. Bakugo works a lot on his physical strength and agility, but Deku's got him beat in that. Just the amount of scars he's garnered from training showed how much he just didn't want to mess with him. He also took boxing classes at some point and increased his stamina a lot. And as for his quirk, he can extend those circuits to his legs now by making a tiger sign, and they last for 1 minute, but his left hand still can't be reached for some reason. His overall strength and perception as well as control over time increases by a lot, but he still does get nosebleeds because quirks are... Oh, I didn't mention it. As a side effect of using his quirk too much, he can get nosebleeds and massive headaches as well. And because quirks are in the end physical abilities, he still has to deal with it, but it doesn't come as much anymore. He has surpassed his limits to a certain degree. Bakugo worked on fortifying his bones, especially the ones in his arms and his shoulders, so his explosions would give him less trouble. So they're far much bigger as well. Deku meanwhile gains more belief in his individualistic views, which make him come off as brash sometimes, but he's not a horrible person. He just doesn't care about your crap sometimes. He just doesn't care. Like every morning for the last year, Deku heads to school and starts running to keep himself warmed up. Along the way, he finds a fight occurring between a giant and Kamui Woods. He will release his eye, which he has named the Jogan, allowing him to predict what the villain was gonna do, and it angers him. "Stop showing off and hit him, you idiot, he's swinging wildly," thought Deku. His left eye will then return to normal as he gets back to running, and he makes it to Aldera High. He takes a seat and throws down his backpack before then laying down his head for a quick nap, and everyone talks and continues to talk until the teacher walks in as he says, "Oh guys, Midoriya, wake up." With a snort, Deku would then make everyone laugh as he would, stand up. He would wake up, and the teacher would then say that he's gotta be focused. "I heard you were trying out for UA." "Seriously? Midoriya's gonna crush it." "Well, if he doesn't end up in a fight." "I'm not a freaking delinquent," said Deku. "Of course you're not. You're too lame for that," said Bakugo. And this would cause Deku to start staring him down with anger as Bakugo does the same, and the teacher would say to stop. "You both will do wonderful at UA." "So you're going too, huh, Bakugo?" "What do you mean, too? I'm not a side character like you bastard," says Bakugo. And the class gets riled up and mad, but they're not gonna act on it because it's Bakugo. The same things then occur as in the original, with the teacher throwing the sheets into the air, but when school ends, Bakugo and Deku just go their separate ways alone. However, today Deku takes a shortcut under a bridge as he hums to himself while punching and just jumping around, and he always shadowboxed as a sort of habit when he was bored. But his moment is ruined by a sound as he will quickly turn to see the sludge villain. This makes his smile just grow as he grabs his backpack and throws it aside. "Come on, big guy, let's do this." "You're either crazy or stupid, kid," said the sludge. "You're gonna be even bigger, idiot, when I kick your ass." "Jogan." His eye would then change, letting out his circuits as he clenches his right fist, and the villain would laugh as he lunges forward, but just as he goes to grab him, Deku makes a hand sign and vanishes. The sludge would then hear a swish from behind as he's then blown apart with a time-enhanced punch, and the sludge is now all over the walls and starts to feel pain for the first time in a while as he slowly regathers himself, and Deku be jumping up and down like, "Come on, let's go." And he says, "I got 1 minute left, come on." His body then glows with blue light as he gathers all his power to his right hand, and as he smiles, the villain starts to actually run away, leaving Deku disappointed, but he actually starts to chase after him when he's then grabbed by someone, and a massive shockwave blows apart the villain completely, and the wide-eyed Deku turns to see All Might. "Sorry for being late, young man." He lets down Deku and asks if he's okay, but Deku would say, "I almost got him, and you got in my way." The hero is surprised by this response as Deku's eyes look almost dead now that they've returned to normal state, and he looks like seriously depressed, and he would try to cheer him up, saying he can bust villains all the time when he's a hero eventually, and he would say, "Also, you're not allowed to fight villains anyway, right?" With a scoff, Deku would then turn and grab his bag as he starts walking off, saying, "I'm gonna get out of your way." I wonder if he's gonna be fine, thought All Might. But while he's worried, Deku found it hard to keep a normal face as he'd be grinning from ear to ear. That kind of power. I wanted to, he thought. When he returns home, he would increase his training regimen and quadruple his workload because after seeing what All Might did, he wanted to reach a higher level. 10 months would then come to pass with him and Bakugo handing in their forms eventually, and then starts their grueling training. But for Deku, he tries to use his quirk differently. He spent years working on applying time to himself. Now he wants to extend it to other things. He works on a lot of things, but kept his quadruple workload. He built up his muscles a lot. Then it came time to show off at UA. When he comes to UA, he goes to the auditorium where he and everyone hear about what they will do. But while he was getting ready for the practical exam, he had to do the written exam first, and then came the time to fight. He and his group were let off the bus, and quickly they all gathered at the gates waiting for them to open. And Deku thought, remember, keep an image. Keep an image. He keeps focusing, but then he hears fidgeting and turns to see Uraraka panicking. But he doesn't care and gets back to focusing, as is everyone else. And this is when the gates are open, and he dashes out, leaving some of them startled because, well, they were also confused because they didn't know if they were supposed to go yet. But Bakugo would then run through the crowd as he blasts forward using explosions, and Deku meanwhile stomps the ground, cracking it as he picks up some rubble and puts some in his pocket. When he meets a two-pointer, activating the Jogan, he releases the circuits from his right arm to the rocks that he would take out, and he would throw it. This small projectile then pierces the head of the machine, leaving Bakugo surprised, because that is not how Deku usually fights. The kids meanwhile are told by Present Mic to go, and so they do, and Deku will then meet a two-pointer, and extending power to his left leg, he leaps and comes down with an axe kick to its head, and he busts it wide open. And after doing so, he increases his speed, and as a blur, he proceeds to decimate any robots in his way, and others are left impressed when they see this. When they're trying to get their points, of course, they're still trying to do their work, but Ida's especially amazed because Deku's speed clearly surpasses his own. Bakugo was too busy doing his own thing though. The heroes watching also see that Deku was amazing. He would alternate between attacking with his body and hurling the stones he picked up, giving him an amount of 60 points very soon, so he would take a break and catch his breath. Alright, 60. I'm gonna win this thing easily. He then sees a two-pointer that someone is about to get, and with a wide smile, he grabs a stone and throws it as he busts it open, and the robot falls at the kid's feet as he would say, "Hey, come on! Guess you better get a move on then," said Deku. With anger in his eyes, the kid would then run off to get points, meanwhile Deku gets back to running again. 15 minutes come to pass, leaving only 5 minutes behind, and this is when the zero-pointer is actually released, and Deku would have just finished a two-pointer when the ground then began to shake, and past him kids ran, and some bump into him, and as much as he wants to fight this gigantic monstrosity, Deku was about to run away. But then his ears pick up a voice. He stops and makes his way to Uraraka stuck under some rubble, and she would say, "Sorry, I'm stuck. Can you help me?" A grin then shows on Deku's face as he grabs a part of the rubble and lifts it off, but then gives an evil smile as he asks, "Can you get up?" Why do I feel like I'm getting bugged? Thought Uraraka. Uraraka nods though, and as he grabs her out from under the rubble, he starts running off with the others to the gates. And as the zero-pointer slowly approaches until they arrive at the gates, and Deku lets down Uraraka, and they watch as the zero-pointer approaches them and its lights go out, and Present Mic will then yell, "And that is the end. The test is ended. Please exit." With a sigh of relief, everyone looks to the gates, but then they see an old lady walk through, and she says hello, and everyone makes way for her until she sees Uraraka, and Uraraka would say, "Recovery girl." "Yep, that's me. Would you lay her down for me?" she asked. Deku says sure and lets down Uraraka, with everyone realizing why Yue was going so crazy, because Recover Girl here, so she could just heal them. With a kiss to Uraraka's leg, she heals her and she begins to glow until she's able to move again, and quickly she gets up feeling great, but just as she turns to thank Deku, he then walks past her. "Wait, thank you." "Don't worry, I wasn't doing it for you," said Deku. He would then make his way out the gates when Bakugo then comes to walk by him saying, "I'm not losing to you." "We'll find out after the results, won't we?" he would say. And with a huff, the two would then walk to the bus, with Uraraka wondering if he was trying to help her or not, because his face did not match his actions at all. After doing this, everyone gets back to their uniforms and soon starts to leave, but Deku is actually met by Uraraka on his way out. "Oh, you again," he said. "How's your leg?" Uraraka brightens up saying that she's fine, and as they walk, Deku asks why she's being so weird. "I wasn't really sure what to make of you, but you're just really nice, you know?" With a smirk, Deku says that she can think what she wants, and the two then make their way to the train station and just talk until they split up. And then 2 weeks come to pass. While Deku was doing push-ups in his room, Inko would barge in with an envelope in hand. "Izuku, it came." Deku then looks up and stands as he quickly takes it and opens it up while Inko waits in anticipation, and he would then come to take out a disc as he lays it down. A hologram of All Might would then show as he says, "Yamadoriya, I am happy to announce that you have passed with the top score." Inko would squeal as she grabs onto and yanks Deku back and forth, with him then asking why she thought it would be any different. "Oh, just enjoy it. You're in UA." "Yeah, it feels pretty awesome." He would then smile with Inko saying this is going to be amazing, and the hologram would talk a bit more, telling him his score on the written exam, which he placed in 4th place, and he's overall very good as he garnered an amount of 120 points from saving Uraraka alone. He was also hoping that he would get more points by doing that, so that's why he actually saved her, but he would have done it anyway, but he just had different intentions. He liked the extra benefit, so it's all good. So now he's in UA, and when spring comes, he heads out to class. He walks the halls when he arrives at UA and finds the huge door, which excites him because maybe there will be some giant kids, and he's a fighter, you know? However, as he opens the door, he's disappointed to see that no one here is that imposing, and Bakugo was arguing with Ida. And as the two see each other, they start to glare, and everyone in the class feels they don't like each other. But Deku mostly ignores him and takes a seat just as Ida then walks to him, and he says he's very impressed with Deku discovering the true meaning of the test. It's no sweat. Name's Midoriya. Tenya Ida, welcome to UA. The two then shake hands just as Uraraka runs in, and she says hello, and some wave back until she sees Deku and runs to say hi, and they start to get along again when Mineta points out that someone has entered their class. Everyone looks to the front to see Aizawa as he would unzip himself and he stands straight. Hello, I am Shota Aizawa. I'm your homeroom teacher. Quickly, Ida and Uraraka sit, but much like everyone else, they don't know what to make of their homeroom teacher. However, Aizawa just gets into it, and from behind, he brings out a uniform from his podium, and he tells everyone to take one and go change into them. You'll find out at your own locker rooms. It'll be marked with your name. Uraraka would then ask about orientation, however, but is quickly shot down as everyone then heads to the locker room. After changing, they all go outside to see Aizawa waiting for them, and he says they'll be doing quirk apprehension tests. What? No guidance sessions? And what about the entrance ceremony? Asked Uraraka. Screw that. What you got for us, Teach? Said Deku. Aizawa would then smirk, saying that they will be doing the same exercises that they've been doing for years, but just with their quirks, and this little added perk excites everyone, just as Deku would then be handed a softball. He's told to step in the circle before him and do whatever he wants, and he just can't step out, and he will say, alright then, brace for impact. He activates the Jogan and releases all the time to his right hand, and by making a tiger sign, he pulls all the time into the ball itself as it pulses with shockwave felt by everyone, and then he throws a softball. It would then pierce the sound barrier 3 times, blowing back sand into everyone's face, and they are also blinded by the wind, but overall they're just left astonished. And Aizawa turns and shows Deku has gotten infinity. The hell does that mean? Asked Bakugo. Since Midoriya's ability seems to have to do with time, the ball reached space due to it being sped up so fast. Time? Cool, said Mina. Deku would then walk back saying that he's going to get the top score this time as well, and everyone can feel his competitive spirits, which starts to influence them, and especially Bakugo. From this display of power alone, they now are very excited to use their quirks, but this makes Aizawa say whoever comes in last will be expelled. Uraraka says nothing though, because she wants to show that she belongs here, and she also realized that there is no point to arguing with their teacher. The first test would be the 50-meter dash, as Deku is paired up with Kaminari, and as they're told to get set and then go, Deku blasts past Kaminari and arrives at the finish line in just 2 seconds, and this is said by the robot monitoring them, and this is when he would think, my time limit is kind of lessening little bit by little bit. He thought this just as Kaminari would then arrive saying, dude, you are quick. His time is then announced to be 5.4 seconds, and Deku says he's also very good for someone with no speed abilities, and he gives him a hand to help him stand. And Kaminari would then take it saying, just like the robot said, the name's Kaminari. Midoriya, right? Deku would then nod and they head back, showing some sportsmanship, and Deku doesn't realize how surprising his speed actually was to everyone, and he's already taken the title of the fastest in their class, which should belong to Ida, so he feels kind of down. And Aizawa would then be contemplating. Quirk Chrono, allowing him to control his own time, and as of lately, the time of other objects. Potentially, it could reach people. Interesting. As the tests continue, everyone then shows their prowess and abilities, and in the end, Deku was put at first, just like he said he would be. This gave Aizawa enough reason not to expel anyone, saying it was all a ruse anyway, and though it did relieve some, others were a little annoyed, but they get to stay, and they were then sent back to class and told about their curriculum sheets. They also get to talk a little bit with their new classmates before then going back, as Uraraka, Kaminari, and Ida come with Deku. The next day, however, the students quickly get back to their normal schedules. They have to go to classes established, and they go to them, and they're taught by heroes, which is pretty cool, but it's overall mundane. Then as the afternoon came, in then ran All Might. I'm entering through the door like a normal person, he yells, as all the students are left starstruck by his appearance, while Deku was more so excited to just fight him and surpass him, much like Bakugo. All Might would then introduce what his class is entailing, and that would be trials. Trials involving battle, and today, this meant that they were going to do team battles, and using a remote, he shells some suitcases which contained the kids' costumes. Awesome, I was waiting for this, said Kirishima, and All Might would say, that's right, they were made and tailored for your quirks. Quickly, the kids run to the suitcases and see their names on them, and they would take them off the shelves, and as Deku grabs his, he starts to wonder who he'd be partnered up with. After getting their stuff, they then head to the locker rooms, and they would change and come out to ground beta in, their full wear. Deku's costume in this timeline has the same gas mask looking thing, but it fed him extra air to allow him to use more strength, and he has reinforced gloves and shoes while having a short sleeve uniform along with shorts, and they both have a color of black filled with vector lines of blue resembling the ones that he expels from his body. He also has a pouch holding certain projectiles, and All Might feels almost teary looking at the young heroes as he says it's time to begin. Then he finds himself bombarded by questions left and right, and he's overwhelmed because he's never really a teacher, he's never taught before, but by using some notes he wrote down for himself, he gets through it. Then he has everyone draw lots, allowing them to get into their teams, before he then picked out what teams they will be fighting against, and when Bakugo and Deku learned that they were put together, they both grow a huge ass grin. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and guess that you two don't like each other, says Suyu. The two would immediately say, hell yeah we don't. And All Might would say, well, please don't go overboard. This isn't just you two. This involves your teammates as well. Yeah, whatever. Let's just begin, said Bakugo. The other teams need to be picked out, you dumbass, said Deku. And Bakugo would tell them to shut up as they start to bicker, but this time they stop on their own as to not disrupt class. They're not disrespectful like that. Then the first battle begins. Down below in the building will be everyone watching on the monitors as Deku and Uraraka would enter through a window, and as they land, the two walk down the hallway with Uraraka asking what exactly causes Deku and Bakugo to hate each other so much. I just don't like the guy, it's not really that deep. Regardless, kicking his ass would just feel really awesome right about now. So it's just a rivalry, said Uraraka. Deku says technically it's like that, and then they continue walking, and while they keep an eye out, they go up 2 floors, and then they come to a corner, went from the corner, then a grenade is slid out, and Deku instantly activates the Jogan just as the grenade then explodes with smoke, and while it covers Uraraka, they are blinded. Bakugo would then blow his way through the smoke as he reveals himself, and Deku turns to see him, and he would attack. However, Deku manages to make a hand sign and move fast, avoiding it before letting go of Uraraka, and he says to go when Bakugo attacks. You're not going anywhere, said Bakugo as he blasted forward, only to be met by a fast kick to the face, and Deku yells for Uraraka to go. As she runs past them, Bakugo is then sent flying as he barely stops himself with explosions, just as Deku then appears in front of him with a punch that he slams into his jaw with an uppercut. Meanwhile, in the monitoring room, everyone keeps their eyes on the action, and they wish they could hear what Bakugo and Deku were saying because their battle was epic. Deku was strong, but Bakugo was relentless and took advantage of his need for his hand signs and the fact that he could only use his right hand to catch him off guard. But Deku's Jogan naturally let him predict Bakugo's moves, and he would just be dodging him. And as he backs away with insane speed, he would then reach into his pouch and then grab a small black sphere, a bead of sorts. He would then throw it at the speed of sound as it slams into Bakugo's stomach, and he would spew a bit of blood. What do you think? They're imbued with time. Funny thing, the effect lasts an hour. Bakugo would barely stand, already full of bruises, but he doesn't falter and lifts his grenade gauntlet as he uses one last push to run forward before pulling the pin, and instantly the halls are just filled with flames enveloping Deku, and All Might and everyone in the room just get horrified and scared as All Might tells Bakugo that he has gone way too far. Do not baby me, you bastards, yells Deku as he jumps out from the smoke, and a surprised Bakugo is then thrown to the floor by a punch to the face. As he thuds to the ground, Deku will then land, and he will be radiating a strange aura, but it quickly fades as everyone in the monitor room saw this, and they seem to have protected him. And Sato would ask, he tanked all of that? What was that stuff? I did not know he could do such a thing either, said All Might. Deku himself was confused, but he just accepts what happened and just ties up Bakugo with tape before then calling Uraraka and asking if she's reached Ida. Yeah, I did, but he's really guarded. And funny. Shichoko is saying that Ida is impersonating a villain, making Deku laugh as well, but he says he has a plan though. Get ready, I'm gonna do something crazy. Getting ready, Deku would then take out one of his beads, and each weigh about 5 kilograms, which is about 11 pounds, if I'm not wrong. If I am, tell me down in the comments below. And they're enhanced with time, so they pack quite a blow. Deku would amplify the time on them and then hurl them upward, causing them to rip through floor after floor until they reach the top one, and Ida is surprised by an explosion of rubble before him. What the? He then saw Uraraka rip off a ceiling beam broken by the cracks of the explosion and uses it as a bat to hit the rubble over to him while he is, blinded. She then jumps over and grabs the bomb. Hero team wins, says All Might. Ida then looks to see Uraraka just as a piece of rock hits him on the head, and he says, good work. Uraraka slides down the rocket as she thanks him, and from down the hall, in then runs Deku as he says, okay, let's go back. I already got to pick up Bakugo out cold. It's hilarious. That is simply immature, maybe even petty, said Ida. Then I'm petty, says Deku. How did you even get your phone in here? How is it still okay after all of that? Asked Uraraka. And Deku says not to think about it too much and say they need to go. And with a shrug of their shoulders, the two just go with him. It is what it is. While Bakugo is hospitalized, everyone gathers outside to talk about the battle. As Momo would say, I would have to say Midoriya was the MVP. Damn right I am, said Deku, and many others agree, and they say that Uraraka, Ida, even Bakugo thought out everything they were going to do, which they didn't expect from Bakugo especially. And can I know why you think Midoriya was the MVP, asked All Might. Aside from adapting to the movements of his enemy, he prepared tools to end the fight quickly. I'm not too sure about running straight into an explosion though, said Momo. Actually, yeah, what was that weird cloak, asked Ojiro. Deku then says he doesn't know and it just happened. I wonder if I can do it again. He would then grunt and activate the Jogan as he would instantly start to leak this bluish aura again, and a curious Hagakure touches it, saying that it tickles. Momo then said that there have been cases of people misinterpreting their quirks sometimes. Maybe your ability has to do with more than just time, said Momo. The aura would then slowly fade, and Deku says that he'll go check it out at the doctor, and All Might says good. And then he asks more questions right before they all return to the building for other fights. Other teams fight, show their abilities, and Todoroki shows why he's in the runner-up for the strongest in class, and everything soon comes to an end. They all go home. After going back home, they soon return for another class, another day, and this is when Ida gets some much needed confidence. He becomes class president. Deku and Momo are chosen, but Deku gives up the role to him, and he literally truly earns it when an incident occurs, but everything is solved. Then the day after that, everyone is suited up for the USJ, and they enter the bus as it heads to the establishment when Suyu then says, Midoriya, isn't your quirk very similar to All Might's? Hell no, I control time. How does that even work? Asked Kaminari. I speed up my movements so my punches and kicks are strong. Also, I can speed up my entire body. And there's this. He points to his Jogan, saying that because he can see people's moves before they make them, he's the best in close combat. Man, I wish I had something flashy like that. I can only harden, said Kirishima. Mina, however, said that this quirk is fine, he just needs to work on it more, but he still says that he wishes he had something flashy like Bakugo, Todoroki, or just anything imposing. Speaking of, you're fire and ice, right? Why don't you use your fire more, Shoto? Asked Deku. None of your business, he answered. Yeah, one day it's gonna be. That kind of shit pisses me off. If you're gonna care, then do. If you're not going to, then don't be a hero, said Deku. These words greatly anger Todoroki as Kirishima tried to de-escalate the situation, saying that Deku should apologize, but Deku says no. We're not just here for school. At some point, we're gonna face each other, and I'm coming out on top, even if I have to fight a pro-hero's son. He switches to his much more serious tone as everyone can feel he's not playing around, and Bakugo and Todoroki say they'll hold him to those words. Bring it on, says Deku. Man, you guys are so troublesome, said Suyu. The bus ride then continues and just keep talking until they arrive at the USJ, where they are met by the Hero 13, who shows them around places such as waterfalls, forests, demolition areas, landslide areas, ruined buildings, and many, many more. After doing so, she takes them back to the stairs, and she would say, yeah, I designed this place. What do you think? It's amazing. Very much so, said Ida. So we get to train here, huh? Fun, said Deku. Yes, but it's not just about training. This is more so you guys controlling yourselves. You guys may already know that my quirk is Black Hole. It sucks up rubble and turns it into dust. Perfect it's perfect for rescues in general, said Momo. Yes, but it could also kill someone, said 13. And as she said this, they all get quiet as 13 would say that heroes must realize that they can also hurt people. It doesn't matter if you mean good, quirks can be bizarre, and when you don't know yourself well, that could cause some problems. Deku thinks on the power that he started radiating lately and wants to get under control, and well, he will. But of course, 13 says that she's also here to just teach them about saving people as well. That is all. And she would bow as everyone starts to clap, and as I would then say, alright, let's get to it. Looking at his clock, his watch, he checks how much time they have, and this is when in the corner of his eye he sees darkness. He turns to see a portal open up, and out walks a man masked by a hand grabbing his face. Quickly, the students notice this, and Kirishima would ask if this was part of the lesson, but as I would say, those are real villains, this is not a joke. And he would put on his goggles, and students would be surprised that this is really happening, but try to keep their cool. However, more and more villains flood the zone, and makes it very hard for them to do so. But how are they here? Wouldn't the sensors have picked something up? Asked Momo. Someone must be using their quirk to interfere with the signal, said Todoroki. Down below, meanwhile, the number would have just stepped out as Shigaraki asked Kurogiri. Are you wrong? He should be here. It seems All Might is running a bit late, said Kurogiri. Maybe if we kill one of them, he'll show up, said Shigaraki. He and the villains then saw Aizawa start falling down the stairs until he lands and surprisingly starts beating the shit out of many of them with relative ease and finesse. Go, said Shigaraki. With a nod, Kurogiri then warps in front of the students as they try to run out, and he says that he cannot allow them to leave, only to then be blown back by a bead from Deku, while Bakugo and Kirishima attack, but he manages to dodge them. Stop talking crap, said Bakugo. Kurogiri is impressed and commands them, but 13 yells for them to come back, just as Todoroki then envelops the whole class and blinds them with darkness, and as Deku was able to see again soon, he will be flying down to the forest area, and he smirks. As he free falls, he would then clap his hands together and meld them into hand signs as he slowly then actually slows himself down, and this begins to warp space until he essentially floats to the ground. He releases the time regulation and looks around when he hears ruffling, and he turns to the right. A villain would then attack him, having claws, but he dodges her attack and knees her in the stomach. The villain would fall over, but Deku is bombarded from all sides as he would then be forced to speed up, and moving as a blur, he knocks them all down before then coming to a stop, and then he starts running out. Man, this is the best. I don't even get scolded if I do this. Help! Help me! Help! Deku then comes to a stop when he hears this, and from the right then runs out Tsuyu holding Mineta, who screams when he sees Deku. Shut up! Why are you guys here? Asked Deku. Well, we didn't exactly have a choice, said Tsuyu. And she then said that they were being chased from behind, and then villains would be yelling and running towards the direction, but with a smile, Deku runs in and sees the 5 of them, and in the blink of an eye, he appears behind them. A delayed impact then hits them all as they hurl blood before then fall into the ground, and Deku's smirk just grows, while Tsuyu and Mineta are left amazed. But they didn't have time for that and quickly had to get out, and so they do while Deku covers them until they do get out of the forest, and after doing so, they see Aizawa fighting and run to help. But for Deku, he just wanted to fight mostly. When they reach the villains, one of them would feel tap as he would turn saying, "Huh, what?" As the villain turns, he's then grabbed by Tsuyu's tongue and thrown into the air as he's then hurled into the water area, and some villains catch wind of this, only to then be knocked out by Deku, who uses his full body speed up before then being, they're glued together by Mineta's purple balls. From afar, Aizawa sees this as Deku then charges forward, and he's actually about to hit Shigaraki on the head, only to then be caught by the Nomu. He's left surprised, and Shigaraki turns to face him. "Didn't notice you there. Very impressive." "Kill him." "No!" Aizawa yells as Nomu then pulls back its fist and goes to attack, but Deku would smirk as he increases his time even more and rips his arms out and proceeds to run in front of the Nomu and slam a punch into its stomach, but he would then say, "What?" And this is when he saw his punch did nothing as Nomu then swung and he barely dodged back before then slinging another punch, and they kept going back and forth. The wind pressure from the two was blowing back many villains just as Deku was sent flying and he crashes into the stairs. He would start to bleed from his head, but he was still smiling, and up top, the ones who were left atop the stairs see that while this was going down, they had to take, while this was going down, 13 was actually trying to take care of Kurogiri, who was still there, and Ida would agree to go get some heroes because he sees Deku run back at the villains again and again, and it inspires him, and so he finds a way to get out. Uraraka and the others help him get out, but 13 her suit gets damaged, so that sucks, but she's alive. Others engaged in fights where they were teleported and were faring pretty well despite this being their first time. However, now that all the villains were taken care of, Deku and Aizawa were still dealing with the Nomu. "You sure you're canceling its quirks?" asked Deku. "You shouldn't be doing this at all." "Yeah, well, tough. I'm not missing out on this. Eat us out for heroes anyway, we'll be fine." He would then start to force out his energy out of anger as he activates his Jogan, and he increases his power even more before then gathering it all into a bead, and just as a Nomu charges, he would focus and hurl it at its arm, blowing it off instantly, and it's like Shigaraki shocked, but the Nomu charges regardless as it appears about to punch, but then the doors are opened wide by All Might, who moves down and catches the attack. "I'm sorry, young Midoriya, I will be stealing your target again." Deku's nose starts to bleed as he says that just this once he'll let him have it, as All Might then slams a punch into the Nomu's stomach and blows it away into the mountain area, and he then chases after it. Deku meanwhile staggers as he is almost caught by Aizawa, but he would then stand on his own, saying, "I'm fine, I don't need your help." "And you are one stubborn brat, you know that," said Aizawa. Things would then play out as before, with the Nomu being blown away by All Might's power and a plus ultra attack, and the students all manage to regather, but Kurogiri does leave with Shigaraki, while the rest of heroes are alerted, and Cementos will still block All Might from view because he still did lose his buff form. An ambulance would not arrive as Deku was hospitalized, despite him insisting that he was fine. And this would make the news, it'd be a big deal, but UA does manage to keep out as much as they can about Deku and the students. However, one thing was clear, 1A was attacked, and, well, Deku had a big part in kind of stopping it. That was confirmed. But I will end this part here. The last part introduced Deku as a much more rowdy, individualistic boy who always thought about dominating and fighting. So when he first got his time quirk, he and Bakugo fought, and he beat him, but the two never got along from that day on, and he won with minor injuries. And then years passed with the two honing their skills until they came to UA. They would meet at the exams where they take a written exam before taking the practical one. Deku saves Uraraka, but for a much more different reason in this timeline. He doesn't fight the 0-pointer and gets to safety with Uraraka, and she is soon healed. Then when UA's first day came, Deku went, met his new classmates and teacher. He and everyone then had to do a test with the risk of being expelled put in, and they did everything well. The next day, the gang will then participate in a trial set by All Might, and in it, Deku and Bakugo fought hard, but Deku unveiled some new tricks and some tools and beat him. He would then help Uraraka get the bomb, and the next day an incident occurred, making Ida step up as class president to take care of it, and so he earns the role and keeps it. Then the next day went on with the USJ, and the villains attack, and 1A split up. Deku was put in a forced area, and after beating some villains, he finds Sue and Mineta. They get out, go fight some other villains to help Aizawa, but Deku fails to get Shigaraki, who is not protected by the Nomu, and Deku manages to escape though, and he and Aizawa go back and forth with the Nomu, unable to beat it until Deku finds a weak point and lands one hit and rips off his arm. However, this doesn't stop it from attacking, and it is met by All Might when he tries to, and he will then take it out. Other heroes then arrive along with some ambulance and reporters. Now we're going to actually begin the story. We begin this with Shigaraki being thrown out of the portal and into the bar as he would be writhing in anger. Who the hell was that brat? Eraserhead I can understand, but that little shit was hurting Nomu. The voice of All For One is then heard as he asks what happened, and Shigaraki explains it all, before then saying, "You were wrong, Master. The symbol is not dying." "Not true," said All For One. "We simply got ahead of ourselves." "What of the Nomu?" "He was sent flying past the stratosphere. It's almost impossible to retrieve him. The heroes might have already gotten to it. We simply didn't have time," said Kurogiri. And you said someone hurt the Nomu other than All Might. Who?" "It may be Izuku Midoriya. He possesses the ability to control time. He was quite formidable," said Kurogiri. 2 days then passed as Deku was given time to recover from his little fight, and he does recover much faster than normal, and he and everyone go back to UA and are told about the UA Sports Festival. "Should we really be doing that when we were just attacked by villains?" asked Koda. "I understand your worry, but this is also UA's way of showing its confidence. Also, security will be quadrupled," said Aizawa. "And we get scattered by heroes. We can't just not join in," said Deku. "Yeah, right, you just want to fight, don't you?" said Kaminari, and Deku said there's nothing wrong with that, is there? "I don't really care, just don't fall behind. You show me what you can do when you're all under stress. So I would not expect anything else than the best," said Aizawa. With determined looks, the students say of course, and then class continues. Right after their class with Cementos, after they get past with Aizawa, everyone gathers and talks about how excited they are, and Uraraka in particular seems very excited, so as Deku and Ida come with her to lunch, she tells them that she wants to be a hero for money when Ida asks, which she is embarrassed by. "Do not be, it is perfectly fine to be financially stable. Right, Midoriya?" I don't really care what you want to be a hero for, as long as you win. It makes things boring if you came this far just to give up, right?" said Deku. These words invigorate Uraraka, who agrees, and like yelling in the class before, she said that she would do her best. Then they go have lunch, and after returning, they continue their classes until it came time to leave, but they find their door blocked by some students, a hold of them. Some are confused as to why this is happening, and wonder why this is happening at all, but Deku will just tell them to get out of his way. "I don't have time for you." "It's him, right? The guy who took down the villains with a smile?" "Oh, you heard of me," said Deku, as he activates his Jogan, asking if they want to end up like those villains, and they quickly make way for him, with Ida saying that was a bit harsh, and everyone agrees, but Deku will be who he is. He's kind of an arrogant person. As he makes it down the hallway, Deku then hears someone call for him and turns to see Tetsu, who would say, "Hey, you, don't think you can scare me with empty threats. I'm gonna show you how much you measure up at the exams, this festival," but it's the same thing. And Deku welcomes the challenge, saying that he'd beat him into the dirt. Well, if you even get to me, that is. This leaves Tetsu fuming, but he's gotta admit that this guy is very imposing. And back in the classroom, everyone is met by Shinzo's declaration, and this would jumpstart the events. Deku works harder than ever on his the strength energy that he can now emit, and finds that it can act as a shield for him and his body, and when he focuses enough, it empowers him as well. This would be what brings him to a new level of power, and also gives him a bunch of tricks he would soon show at the festival. And when the day finally arrived, after 2 weeks, all the classes gather in their own waiting room, and as 1A is in there, they're just chilling or being like very nervous, trying to get out of their little trouble, they're trying to calm down. Deku will be stretching and getting ready for what was to come when he's then approached by Todoroki, and he turns to ask what he wants when all the attention then turns to them. And Todoroki would say, "In terms of speed, you may have beat me, but in terms of pure power, you're not even compare." "The hell you say?" said Deku, as he would get mad, and Kirishima tries to intervene, but to no avail, with Deku saying, "I don't give a damn what you have. You're not the only one who's been training. I will leave you in the dust." "You guys just can't sit down and chill?" asked Jiro. "Why the hell would we? This is a competition. If you fall behind, you can't blame anyone but yourself," said Deku, as they were then all called out, and putting aside this little conflict occurring in their class, they would head out, and other classes come out as well. The stadium roars at their arrival, but other classes feel envious and angry towards 1A since they are being used as their opening act of sorts, and quickly they are all called to Miss Midnight at the podium. After they are, The crowd would then settle, with Midnight then calling up Deku to make a speech, and with his hands in his pockets, he walks up to the crowd of students, and people be saying, like, he's the #1 pointer guy. Yeah, that guy's on the news. Let's see what he says. I can feel how smug he is. As Deku makes it to the podium, he would clear his throat and say, I'm gonna destroy all of you, but feel free to try and keep up. What the hell is wrong with this guy? And all the classes direct their anger at Deku, who would actually bask in it as he raises his hands to the sky while smiling, and one day understands what exactly he just did. Well, I can at least respect this one-track mind, said Jiro. He brought all the attention to himself, thought Todoroki. The crowd is enthusiastic by his declaration, saying that while he is a bit arrogant, this kid seems very confident, and considering what happened on the news, he may prove why he truly deserves to be the #1 point getter, like one of the strongest in class. He proceeds to then walk down to the crowd of students and is met by hate, but he says to bring it on until he returns to where he was, and he gets a bit serious, saying, I'm being serious, guys. Go all out. Who do you think you're talking to, said Bakugo, and Tokiyami said I was never planning on falling short. The one in class now sounded reassured and completely lost their nervousness, and they had slowly started to wonder if Deku made the speech just to make them focus more as well. But for now, the first challenge has to be picked. Midnight rolls the roulette and it lands on the obstacle race, and as such they are all led to the gate in the stadium, and the gate opens while they are told to get ready, and everyone gets pumped. Slowly the light signals at the gate will then go, they all get lit up, and then it is announced by President Mike to go. The halls of the tunnel will be filled with students bumping into one another when an explosion of frost then spreads, and out on the other end run out Bakugo, Todoroki, and Deku, who will then forge far ahead of the two. And they begin! Midoriya has already taken the lead, said President Mike. Using chakra to enhance himself, Deku keeps himself about 20 feet ahead despite Todoroki and Bakugo trying to catch up, and they realize what he must have learned from training. Like I said, you got me beat in speed, but it won't last long though, thought Todoroki. The 1A students meanwhile break out of the ice laid out by Todoroki and run out just as the others come to meet a giant zero-pointer. Todoroki takes this chance to freeze the monstrosity, but it will be unstable and comes crashing down, which was his goal, but Bakugo and Deku would jump and jump until they leap over it, and as Deku starts to free fall over him, then blasts Todoroki and Bakugo, as Bakugo would say, "Ha! Screw you, Deku!" Deku with a smile then blasts ahead and catches up with them, while others would have to deal with the zero-point barrier and the other robots in the way. Deku and the two would then reach the fall meanwhile, and Todoroki rides on the rope using his ice trail, while Bakugo and Deku just jump from pillar to pillar, until Todoroki then lands on the ground first and gains the lead, but he is quickly caught up to again, and Bakugo then proceeds to throw a massive explosion at the two, blinding them and pushing them aside, before then going on ahead, only to then be grabbed by the leg and slammed to the ground by Deku, who also kicks away Todoroki. Ooh, that's rough. Midoriya returned that twofold, and for those of you who are wondering, said President Mike, Midoriya's quirk is called Chrono. This allows him to speed himself up and see moments that will be made before they're even made, and using his Jogan, which is what he has named his ocular ability, the source of all of this also comes, you get what I'm trying to say. I feel like I fucked that up a little bit. He uses his eyes, blah, 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 and he says that the source of all of this has recently been found to come from the energy that he's radiating, and there's a lot more he can do, so you'll have to just wait and watch. Deku will then reach the landmines, and so, while he tries to, go ahead, he dodges from the right when Bakugo blasts at him, and then he dodges to the left, dodging a trail of ice. You snooze, you got caught lacking, said Deku, as he would then trap the two into a kind of, what's it called? Think of it like, Piccolo's Hellzone grenade. He runs past the mines and activates all of them, and he stays unaffected while the two are caught in the crossfire. Then he would enter the stadium and dial down the time. He used to speed himself up, and he would be applauded as he proceeds to wipe off his sweat while enjoying the praise. Midoriya made it back already. What an amazing display, huh? Said President Mike. As Deku waits, he would then see Bakugo and Todoroki running with their hair frazzled as they death stare him, but he would just laugh. From behind them all then come more kids, and they run it out of breath, and this would also include Uraraka, who would say that was just crazy. Soon 42 students then make it back and are met by Midnight, who announces only the 42 will pass, and she spins the roulette for the next game and the exam, whatever, and it lands on the cavalry battle as she says, Midoriya, as first place you will have 10 million points. Just wanted to say it. Instantly all gazes turn to him, but he returns this with a death stare, but no one else is backing down, which excites Deku. You want the points? You're gonna have to actually get past me, said Deku. Man, he's annoying, but he's definitely dangerous, thought the kids. The match will last 15 minutes. Have fun, Midoriya, said Midnight, and Deku said he would, as things are put into action, and after being instructed, everyone starts to make teams, but as arrogant as he may be, a lot of people came to Deku, and he would then give him a pity stare. Come on, man, just pick someone. You don't have to be such a dick. However, Deku walks past all of them and finds Tokiyami and asks him He agrees, and Deku asks Mei, who says yes, and the other runner-ups panic a little bit, but then Uraraka came and Deku accepted her, so this sealed their chances, but they still have Bakugo as an option and many other people like Todoroki, so they did their best trying to find some people. Eventually, all the teams are picked out with the leader sitting atop their, the formation, and with their headbands on and holding the points. And they're all outside a little stage, a little line, a little place meant for fighting until Midnight waves her whip and says to begin. Here we go again, said President Mike, and as soon as Deku's team enters, instantly 3 teams come at him, and he would then take something from Mei and burst it with chakra and imbue it into there along with some time, as he would then throw it, and for example, Tetsu is sent flying off his formation, leaving everyone surprised, but then Hagakure is blown off her formation, and instead of waiting for Deku, Bakugo actually leapt forward, which was very startling, as he would throw an explosion, but it was blocked by Dark Shadow, just as he was hit in the stomach, but what was actually a screwdriver. Yep, Mei just kept giving Deku tools to throw, but as Bakugo almost thuds to the floor, he is caught by Sero and brought back. Bring it on, you bastard, said Deku. Why would you say that, said Uraraka. You knew what you were getting into, Deku would say, and a trail of ice then comes from behind as he warns them, and they all jump, and much to everyone's surprise start to fly due to Mei's babies. They fall back down, and Todoroki's team attacks again, as he freezes all his teammates in ice and freezes their legs, while he tells Kaminari to release lightning. As he does, however, Deku would scream and explode with energy, as he would cover his entire team, and it shatters the ice and wards off the lightning. Didn't expect that, did you, said Deku, as he then grabs and throws a piece of machinery, and Todoroki is hit and blown off the formation. Since when could he do that, asked Kaminari. Since now, buddy, said Deku, as his team then turn around, but as they do, Deku would have his headband actually snapped by Monoma. And this catches everyone's attention, only for Deku to then use his time to speed up and reach, but Monoma copies his powers and goes to dodge. Instantly, though, he becomes dizzy as his nose would explode with blood. Wow, that is some serious damage, said President Mike. He would then explain that Monoma can copy quirks, but it seems that Deku's quirk was too strong for him to handle, and Deku takes back the headband before punching Monoma, while the teams down below wrestled, and Dark Shadow would then actually attack, but Subaraba made a wall of air, only for it to be broken through, and they all ran to the ground. It took me years to get used to the headaches. You think I'm a genius or something, said Deku. As he wipes his nose, Monoma can still feel shaky and just discombobulated, as he thought, how the hell does someone deal with this? The fights then kept going and going until it came to an end, and Deku's team would keep their headbands, but also gain about 1,000 points along with that, and they come out on top and celebrate. The crowd was truly marveling at the skill of these kids, but Deku was still dominating as he said he would. A break was then announced, allowing everyone to get out of their seats, go eat, and the kids also go eat at the canteen, but find that Deku and Todoroki are gone. We find the two under the same tunnel, and Deku would say, I don't want to hear a sappy story, man. Man, you are obnoxious. I thought Bakugo was bad, said Todoroki. I simply want to let you know that this isn't personal. I have a goal. So do I, to beat all of you. Todoroki agrees with this goal, but then also says, asks maybe if he's related to All Might in any way, to which he says of course he's not, because he's trying to beat that guy. Again, I control time, said Deku. I don't know why you became so hung up on beating me specifically, though. This is more than just fighting, isn't it? It's about more than that. Todoroki would then go on to talk about his backstory, which, while surprises Deku, still doesn't change his mind on his goal, but he does feel for Todoroki a little bit. That's all the more reason why I need to crush you, though, because you're a worthy opponent. I haven't showed everything I got, so you go 50% and I'll destroy you. He would then turn and walk out, telling him that they need to go eat and that he can't be on an empty stomach. And Bakugo would have listened to all of this, unintentionally, as Todoroki would become far more set in his ideals. After eating, lots are then picked, and recreational activities are put into action, and the crowd returns to the stadium to watch and have a little fun. Samantha soon will be done with the stage, and as such the first match comes up with Deku walking in with Shinso. The sides of the stage would explode with flames as they are announced to everyone and what the department they hail from, before Midnight then said, and start. Instantly making a hand slide, Deku appears before Shinso just with a boost in chakra as he would punch him, and he is sent flying off the stage before he crashes into the grass. Well, that was anticlimactic. But that kid's just too strong, the crowd be saying. Even Deku was a bit surprised and watched that Shinso stood up despite such a devastating blow, so he jumps down to give him a hand. Which is strange, it's a strange move for Deku, since he's been going all, I'm better than all of you. Shinso would angrily smack him away as he starts walking off, with Deku then being announced the winner, and he feels like absolute shit, to say the least. But then he hears, I don't really like you, but coming this far means that your quirk must be pretty impressive, or you're just strong. He turns to see a smiling Deku who says that he's got to stop sulking and actually listen to what the crowd is saying. Shinso then starts to focus and, while confused, starts to hear his friends from the same department congratulating him and saying he did so well because none of them even made it that far, but he did. This puts a smile on his face as President Might then reveals his quirk, but because he had not shown such an antagonizing side of himself, the heroes readily admit how useful it would be. He walks out telling Deku to mind his own business, however, saying, I don't want to be associated with an arrogant genius. Deku will shrug his shoulders, saying it's his loss, but the two then party ways, and the other matches get along, as well as Todoroki going ballistic on Sero with a giant iceberg. Kaminari then fought Shiozaki and lost, Ida fought Mei and won, Kirishima and Tenketsu fought, which ended in a tight right before Bakugo fought Uraraka and won. Uraraka did put up quite a fight. Kirishima and Tenketsu resolved their fight with an arm wrestle, which Kirishima wins, and then comes Deku versus Todoroki. As Deku heads out to meet his enemy, however, he's met by Endeavor, but simply walks past him when the hero says he has something to talk about. Screw off, Flamehead, I don't care about your family history. You're pretty gutsy considering who you're talking to, said Endeavor. Deku then came to a stop as he turned, saying, no matter how much higher you are as a hero, I will overwhelm you if you get in my way. Endeavor is put off by how driven this kid is, and will simply smile because he does not have to tell him anything. Deku was not going to play around, he was going to try and destroy Todoroki, clearly. Deku meanwhile walks out to the stage and hears the voices get louder and louder as he and Todoroki meet each other, and he begins to stretch. Like I said, you better use your fire. Todoroki says he will never do that, just as Present Mic says to begin, and instantly, Deku bursts with chakra as he blitzes Todoroki, who freezes his legs, but Deku then rips his way through before then kicking him in the face. Todoroki is sent flying, forcing him to make a wall of ice to stop himself before he then releases a massive iceberg at Deku, who ups his time and appears beside Todoroki and punches him right in the ribs. Right now, Midoriya is dominating. Will Shoto be able to get past that overwhelming gap in speed and power, said Present Mic. As Deku barrages him with punch after punch, he's completely frozen, allowing Todoroki to just run away, and Deku would then appear in front of him after breaking out of the ice with a terrifying smile on his face. Use your fire, damn it, he says. He grabbed him by the face and sends him to the ground. Todoroki would then go to touch him, but he quickly pulls away and then stomps him in the stomach, with all those present being in awe of Deku's battle instincts. Present Mic inquires about this to Aizawa, who says that Midoriya has shown to be able to accelerate his brain processing. That combined with his Jogan makes it impossible for him to lose in fights, said Aizawa. If he wants to win, Todoroki will have to use his ice. But even then, that may not be enough. Deku keeps the upper hand while he batters Todoroki all around until he stops to save power. He'd be sweating bullets, and Todoroki notices as he stomps and releases another wave of ice, but instead of moving, Deku claps his hands and releases vector lines to the ground. And as they would envelop the ice, and when they reach him, instantly the ice would be rewinded as everyone watches it go back in time until it shatters in front of Todoroki. And it was bizarre to watch, but everyone leapt out of their seats at seeing this. He can reverse time for attacks now, said Mineta? That's OP! Bakugo was unnerved to see this because it meant his explosions would be meaningless, and Todoroki realized that Deku had overtaken him completely in one move. Deku would then be, just jumping around, and he proceeded to say, Quirks are more physical than you think, Shoto. I don't give a damn about your past. You better not disrespect me. Everyone here, including me, is trying their best to become a hero. You're not the main character of some story. Todoroki says to shut up as he waves his hand, but Deku then appears in front of him and grabs his hand, reversing his activation before then yelling, Use your fire before I kick your ass into the dirt. It's yours, isn't it? Todoroki and everyone felt the chill run down their spine from these words, as Todoroki explodes with flames, which would push back Deku and surprise everyone, and Endeavor was just having a field day. His cries of joy would be heard by everyone, just as Todoroki would say, Man, you're annoying, Midoriya. Yeah, well, you're not gonna beat me with some stupid results, said Deku, as he then bursts with chakra and it becomes much more pure, and from home, Inko would squeal like a fangirl when he charges forward. Todoroki did as well, and though everyone was screaming, for the two, it was as if everything became silent, and Todoroki would smile right before they clash. A bright flash would blind everyone just as Deku was pushed back a bit, but Todoroki is sent flying off the stage and slams into the stadium walls. I win, says Deku. Todoroki slides to the floor and his head would thud to the ground as he would be called, but he'd be checked on by the medics, and Deku was just being cheered on. He said, yeah, I just did that, and he would just be like, hyping himself up, and Deku was reveling on all of this, but all the heroes were seriously thinking about how overpowered such a move like that is, especially considering he managed to stop Todoroki's activation. That's really powerful. Todoroki was taken away, but looked more relieved to say the least, as he whispered a thanks to Midoriya, though he could not hear it. As brutally honest and arrogant as Deku was, that is why Todoroki was able to get past his mental barrier, and for that he owes him. Deku would then make his way back to the stands as he meets up with everyone who say that was amazing, and the surrounding heroes would clap for him as he bowed. You're welcome, you're welcome. Kirishima, it's you next, right? You're fighting Bakugo. Kirishima stands saying that he would give him hell, with Bakugo standing up as he said not to get full of himself, and he walked past him and Deku. Don't underestimate me, Deku. My name is Izuku, you idiot. He then leaves as Kirishima follows while Deku takes a seat and he breathes out, breathes in and out, letting his entire body rest because rewinding Todoroki, everything about him was really hard. Everyone then watched as the next fight began, and soon Bakugo quickly finished his fight, leaving only 4 people left. Deku would fight Ida and win, Bakugo fought Tokoyami and won, and then the two came in for their final fight. Both get warmed up and calmed their nerves while President Mike would speak. We have Bakugo Katsuki from the Hero Department, who can secrete nitroglycerin and detonate it. We have Izuku Midoriya, who can accelerate time and, as of recently, rewind it. We don't know just how much he's gonna do or how he's gonna progress, but let's start. Midnight then swipes down with her whip, and Bakugo rushes, but is met by Deku's fist to his face, but he actually dodges it, as he said that Deku is only limited to his right hand. I've gotten used to it, he said, before then throwing an explosion at his face, and it actually hits because Deku's eye is currently a bit weak. But he counters with a punch to Bakugo's stomach, only to be grabbed before Bakugo then headbutts him, and they both grunt in pain. They are then blown back before attacking ruthlessly and leaving everyone on the edge of their seat, and they go back and forth as Bakugo is aware that normally he wouldn't be able to even hit Deku, but this is a special case. A win is a win, we're both exhausted. He has no whining to do, thought Bakugo as he threw an explosion at Deku, blinding him, but he also used this to force himself into the air, and he then started to fall down while spinning around with his explosions until he came down with a howitzer impact, which craters Deku into the ground. He would then hold his hand over Deku as he punched and continued to punch him with the ground on his face, and people would actually believe like, yo, this kid is about to win. He might actually win. But then Deku would smile, his eyes would glint and like just release this little flash, and Bakugo becomes just frozen as Deku would yell, Jogan, Mind Lock. A shockwave releases, Bakugo will be blown back and his eyes go blink right before Deku then gets up, grabs him, and brings all the power into his right hand before then throwing him. He would crash right into the grass, and whatever Deku did to him would be cancelled as Bakugo would then get confused and angry while Deku is announced the winner, but much like everyone, they're confused as to what is happening, so Midnight goes to give Deku a mic to explain. While medics come to Bakugo, he says to leave him alone as he tries to listen. He would say, he looked into my eye and I froze his mind. He literally couldn't think, all his motor functions stopped. That is amazing, thought Midnight. You froze my freaking brain, screamed Bakugo. Deku would then nod, saying that was a good match, and he started to leave, all boss-like, while he's announced, the winner of the entire competition. And he has flabbergasted everyone with his evolving powers. But this is when the headaches start to get to him, and Nico watches as from her couch, he begins to fall through her TV. She sees that he is falling, and he would thud to the ground. The medics quickly run to him instead, and see that he was bleeding like immensely from his nose, but yet he was smiling. Quickly, they get him up and on the stretcher, and Midnight says everything is going to be okay. He simply reached his limit, folks. He'll be fine. Inko would breathe a sigh of relief at hearing this, and he'd be whisked away. But in the end, he won anyway, so yeah. But he also showed that though he was acting arrogant, he was still wearing himself out. He was pushing himself to his limits. He just wanted to win that badly. A few minutes later, he wakes up and sees the 1A class waiting along with Recovery Girl for him. And he would say, even you came, huh, Todoroki? What are you doing here? He looks to Bakugo, who tells Todoroki to shut up. You might have beaten me, but you got knocked out too. Don't get on your high horse. Deku would say he would give him that for now, but he asked the others why they're here, and they want to check on if he's okay. And he's a sociopath, doesn't freaking realize that they wanted that, and he thanks them for coming. He legit does. And they ask if his brain is like okay, because they said he had a little problem, but he said he's been experiencing it for years. It just calms down after a while. And he would then sit up out of bed as Recovery Girl said he unfortunately missed the ceremony. But I got your medal right here. She brings it out and hangs it on his neck, and she begins to clap, as does everyone, even Bakugo and Todoroki, making him a bit embarrassed. But that's his own little ceremony. They would then go back to class, where they are dismissed and allowed to take a break, and as soon as Deku gets home, he would fall onto his couch with complete exhaustion, as Inko runs over saying he was awesome. I know, Mom, but also can you speak a little quieter? Apologizing, she says she's going to get some ice cream for him, and he says that would be very much appreciated, and she goes to the kitchen. He turns and looks at his hand as he clenches it and smiles because he has gotten one step further and gotten even stronger. After this, he eats some ice cream, Inko brings over, and they go take a walk, and the headache would pass, and the next day is off, spent with him working on like rehabilitating himself and just regaining his energy. He and everyone then return to class a day after and are told by Aizawa of the internships, but before they went any further, they had to pick hero names. This made the class explode with laughter, excitement, but as he cheers, Deku notices something. Ida was cheering, but something seemed off. It's probably nothing, he thought. They then settled down as Aizawa calls in Midnight, and she walks in saying she was going to help them, but before that they had to see the nominations. The result of the nominations are shown on the board, leaving some baffled at the huge difference. Deku had 6,000 people wanting him, Bakugo had 4,000, Todoroki had 3,000, and Tokoyami had 500 in this timeline. Heroes are harsh, said Ojiro, but they're also correct to choose this way, said Momo. Deku would be grinning, saying this is going to be awesome, and Midnight would say that they honestly have never seen such a wide gap before. It's probably because Midoriya showed that new part of his quirk. With that, you could do like so much, said Mineta. And that's why I'm awesome, said Deku. And here we thought you were gonna humble yourself a little, said Kaminari. But Deku says, why mess with perfection? And his attitude is something that Midnight actually loves, and she finds it hilarious as well. She then passed some boards. As everyone came up, chose their names. Deku chose the name Kronos, God of Time. Praise me, said Deku. Oh, get off your high horse, said Bakugo, as Deku would yell, never. And as he continued to laugh, Midnight would then say that she actually does like it, and the arrogance helps. If you want to sell these names, you have to accompany them with a certain flair. It's okay to go a little bit overboard. I said, praise me, said Deku. Okay, just not that overboard, said Midnight. She then had Deku go back and, sit down and calm the hell down. And many more take aspiration from Deku's ego to embody themselves, and they really put down their names as something that represents them instead of just seeing it as a name. But Ida just calls himself Ida due to his slight depression right now and loss of confidence. Soon they then are left with some papers with some heroes on them for them to choose. So as time comes for lunch, they take a little time, talk about their choices. And Uraraka says that she wants to go with Gunhead. They're still in classroom right now. They're about to go to lunch. And she says that being good at hand-to-hand combat is very useful. Maybe you could teach me a few moves, she said. Deku then thinks about it and shrugs his shoulders, saying, why not? Really? Awesome. Again, it's really not that big of a deal, said Deku. However, Uraraka says that he usually just doesn't give advice, like he focuses on himself. And Deku says, of course, you gotta be strong, you gotta focus on yourself first, but I'll make an exception for you since you're a close friend. Uraraka would smile and blush, as Deku then asks Ida if he would like to join because he has like a local gem they can use, but he says it's alright. I'd much rather focus on my engines. Excuse me. He then goes on ahead, and Uraraka notices and says that something is wrong, and then Deku starts to notice it as well, now that she points it out. We then cut to the end of school, as when Deku is leaving, he's actually met by All Might, who would say, hello young Midoriya, have you chosen a hero yet? No, why? You got something? Actually, someone perfect for you, Sir Jiraiya. He hands him a paper containing the former hero's address, saying that he could help him control that energy he had. He's trained many with similar emitter types. Deku is interested and says that, especially since it's coming from All Might, he trusts that, and so he thanks him and walks off as All Might goes the other way. The next day, quickly, the students gather at the train station, and after going their separate ways, they go find their heroes supposed to be at, and Deku takes the train for about an hour and makes it to his destination as he would approach the woods, and then he sees a house. It looked very Japanese and traditional, big, and he said, this guy's got taste. But as he approached and reached for the door, it would then be open, and it would hit him. But Jiraiya then coming out, he would have long white hair, and he would say, not fast enough, kid. And he would giggle when Deku then began to rage and turn on his Jogan. But Jiraiya says to calm down. It's not my fault you couldn't react. Don't you want to get stronger? Trust my method. What method, you old geezer? Said Deku. Jiraiya then says to step inside and that he will see. And though something about this angers Deku, he does, and he enters. The home is very spacious, very nice. But in the corner, he then saw some magazines, and he says, seriously, man, it's like the 21st century. Why? Walking to the magazines, Jiraiya would pick them up, saying that it's good to appreciate the classics, and he would then take a seat right before Deku and ask him to release that aura. Now Deku smiled and was getting excited because they're about to start training, and he took off his backpack, put down his suitcase as he proceeds to start yelling, and he explodes with the energy. But Jiraiya says he's doing it all wrong. Kid, why are you screaming? What do you mean, why? It's hard. Jiraiya would then stand and walk up to him as he points to Deku's stomach and tells him to close his eyes. Deku would do so, and Jiraiya tells him to imagine a pool at the pit of his stomach, but to think of his veins in his body as tubes distributing that water evenly through him. And as Deku began to envision this, his energy started to flow better and less aggressively, so he stopped yelling until Jiraiya backs off and smiles. Now doesn't that feel better? Deku slowly opens his eyes, and both his eyes would now have the Jogan, and he feels amazing, and he notices the change. He knows he has both Jogan in both eyes, and he says it doesn't hurt anymore. How'd you know? Jiraiya says he's an old-fashioned guy. I call what you use chakra, chi, ki, whatever. It's spiritual energy, certain terms. Chakra. Yeah, I'll use that. Well, what are you doing? He then saw Jiraiya reading the magazines, and his master said to calm down. You gotta keep using your energy. Keep it flowing like that first. Deku then says he sees no reason for it, but as he takes a step forward, the energy will violently backlash, and he falls over in pain, as Jiraiya laughs, saying that he should have listened to him, and Deku says to shut up. But he respected that Jiraiya knew what he was doing, and he would work on controlling his chakra for about 2 days, and on the 3rd day, Jiraiya decided to spar with the boy. Deku would be in a hero costume, while Jiraiya was in, pajamas, and he said to attack. You brought me out to a forest, you're wearing pajamas, and you want me to attack? Jiraiya would then clap his hands together as a giant poof is heard and a puff of smoke appears, and when the the smoke clears, Deku sees he's sitting atop a giant toad, and the toad would speak, saying, "Another brat. Never mind. This is awesome," said Deku as he bursts her chakra and speeds himself up, and he leapt towards the toad and punched it right on the forehead, but it caused no damage, just as Jiraiya then drop kicked him from above and, hit him right into the ground. He then instantly backs away and he's smiling, with Jiraiya then telling him to, come again, because Gamabunta likes a good challenge. About the toad is named. At least this one seems to have more potential, said Gamabunta. "Yeah, you won't be talking to me like that for too long. I learned a trick," says Deku, and he will close his eyes and become enveloped by chakra, and he takes on a neon turquoise-like color, but also has the consistency of flames now. His Jogan gleamed as his hair rose and changed color as well, and his entire body would just start to change, and he would then punch the air, releasing what he would call a time shock. Jiraiya would then barely move out of the way as Gamabunta is hit and sent flying before he crashes into the forest, and Jiraiya is wide-eyed as he looks back to Naruto and puts a thumbs up. "Damn, kid. See, I told you. I don't even feel tired," he said. "Well, that's probably because you didn't know how to control your chakra until now. You have to keep in mind that your eyes are connected to your brain. When your chakra isn't well regulated." "I get headaches," said Deku. "I'm so stupid. But I'm still so awesome, though." Jiraiya is surprised he can prop himself up while insulting himself at the same time, and he then yells for Gamabunta, asking if he was okay, and the toad would say that he was gonna kill Deku. "Go right ahead and try," said Deku. "I'll beat you into the ground." Gamabunta would then leap into the air as he started barreling towards Deku, while Jiraiya would yell in horror, saying that he would destroy their home. And that day, Gamabunta would fight Deku over and over, but Deku noticed that Jiraiya wasn't using the toad to its full potential. Regardless, he harnessed his abilities, made use of the cloak, made him more efficient, and he no longer got massive headaches, so it let him do much more. And Jiraiya then took him to Hosu on the 4th day. But I will end this off here. Let's begin with Shigaraki and Kurogiri reporting to All For One, and then we went back to UA where everyone was told about the festival. The students take 2 weeks to train and come back as they would fight at the stadium, and the students are called out after Todoroki still calls out Deku, but as Deku was told to come make a speech, he antagonizes everyone to make them come at him more. It also works to motivate everyone else, and during the obstacle race he outspeeds Bakugo and Todoroki, even attacking him at one point to get ahead, but he only did so after Bakugo came at him first. He takes first place, and during the cavalry, he gets his headband taken, but quickly gets it back from Ronoma, who goes crazy after trying to copy his quirk. Then came the one-on-ones, and while Deku fights the same, he doesn't fight the same. He fights in a more hungry for like power type of way. He just like destroys you. He's ruthless about it. But when it came time to fight Todoroki, though he ruthlessly beats him down, he inspires him, but does so unintentionally. He would then also unveil an amazing ability he had learned and wins with it. He and Bakugo then fight, and he would show another amazing ability and throw Bakugo out of the ring, and he would explain the ability, and after doing that he passes out due to overusing his power. When he wakes up, he's surrounded by Class 1A before then getting his own little ceremony since he missed the real one. Even Bakugo and Todoroki were there, and it was just a little sweet little moment. Then came the picking of the names at UA a few days later, and nominations, all that, and Deku barely actually notices Iida's change, though he would have in the original, because he's a little bit more self-centered. He then headed out of school when he was met by All Might, who recommended a former hero named Jiraiya. Jiraiya teaches him to flow out his energy and teaches how to do it correctly, and this allows him to turn both his eyes into Jogan. Later on though, he also releases a cloak form and fights Gamabunta using another new move, and he would then be taken to Hosu. The two walk in the city eating skewers when Deku then asks, "How are you allowed to do hero work if you're a former?" "I'm just that amazing, kid," he said. Deku would then denounce this, saying that most people would just think of him as a kooky old man, to which he laughs with them ruffling his hair, to which Deku hates, as he would then tell him to stop because he's eating. Jiraiya keeps doing so, however, as he felt proud to witness the growth of his kid, his little student. He's gonna be a monster someday, he thought. "Monsters! Monsters attacking!" As this is yelled, instantly Jiraiya dashes past Deku, surprising him with the speed as he tells him to hurry up, and Deku throws away the food as he speeds up with chakra, and up ahead an explosion occurs. When they reach the source of the explosion, they find the part of the city burnt as it would be filled with Nomus and no heroes had arrived yet. Jiraiya sees this and is about to protect some civilian from being hurt, but Deku enters his cloak form and blows off the head of all the creatures before then coming to land in the middle of the road. "Well, move it, you wanna die?" he yells. The relief people will then get up and thank Deku as some recognize them, and especially his brash personality. Jiraiya will then clasp his hands together as marks will start to cover his face, and he truly uses his quirk as he expels water from his mouth and sprays it to the skies. It rains down and puts out the fires, with Deku then asking how the hell he does that, and Jiraiya would say he'll tell him later. Heroes would arrive asking what was going on, and they, from an alley, then saw more Nomu just crawl out. "Wait, but aren't you?" The sage? The heroes start to recognize Jiraiya, who would say that they can get an autograph later, but right now they need to do their job. There are about more of them down over that building. Think you can handle it? Asked Jiraiya as he looked at Deku, who then leapt into the air saying he should worry about himself, and screaming, Jiraiya then releases a wave of water from his mouth again as it would come to envelop some of the Nomu before then crushing them, and other heroes start to help out, but one asks if it's really the best choice to let the kid go alone. If I know that brat, he'll be fine. Deku meanwhile begins to free fall onto a new street with a wide grin as he holds his hands out and he concentrates as he fires 2 beams that would hit and blow apart the heads of the flying Nomu and one buff one. From above, worried citizens then see him and he would crash to the ground and he looked like a burning flame, like a hero, a fire hero due to the cloak's nature, but they were wrong about it. Deku would then gather them to one side as he told them to go and he fired beam after beam to give them cover. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can thank me by getting out of my way, he said, as he then lunged forward and appeared grabbing a buff Nomu before then punching his so hard that it would rip right down in the middle, like half. The citizens now were wondering if they're, who were the real ones in trouble, and Deku then lands as he would then take out a bead. And made some improvements, they don't just hit hard. He would then heave one on attacking Nomu and it would freeze in the air, allowing Deku to then leap and kick it as he would destroy it. Now they stopped time too, he said. He would then go on a rampage and destroy all of them, just as some heroes run in and find the street bloodied, and a smiling Deku then looks at them, making one of them yell, "Shut up, I'm on your side. Sorry, it was just so sudden." Well, the side Deku then says whatever, as he be starting to feel himself. He was at the peak right now. He felt better than ever, but he wondered where Jiraiya went when he then saw the hero manual. Ida was here with him, he thought. And as these words came into his mind, he emptied up his body and just started to run down the street, leaping into the air as he looked around, and he heard a certain noise. The sound of bones cracking. He comes to land on a rooftop and quickly runs before then flinging down into an alley, and he crashes to look and see Jiraiya holding Stain, and behind him will be Ida and Native, unable to move on the ground. "Oh, you came," said Jiraiya. Running past Jiraiya, he then goes to Ida and asks what the hell he's doing here. "Huh? What?" Ida would then avert his gaze, conflicting Deku, who then looks back to tell Jiraiya to, thank you for helping his friend. "No problem, kid. The effects of his quirk should be wearing off just about now," said Jiraiya, as Native then regains feeling in his body and he would stand, and Deku then helps up Ida as he still stayed quiet. "I'm a idiot," thought Deku. As night passed, news of Jiraiya beating the killer spread, and it got him back on the media, which he hated, but he was a very powerful hero at some point, so it's not that surprising. Ida meanwhile was hospitalized after his feet had been found to be horribly messed up. Luckily, he could still walk in a few days and with some, rest. As he sits in his hospital bed, in then walks Deku. "Midoriya, good morning." Deku's playful personality was gone, however, as he apologized. "I can't believe I called you my friend after I ignored the signs. I'm so stupid. I'm sorry about your brother." Ida looks to the window saying it was okay. "In hindsight, everything got solved, didn't it?" "But you're still not okay," said Deku, as he then took a seat beside him and said that while he doesn't deserve to act all nice now, when he then noticed his brother would not want him to do this, and he wanted to tell Ida this because he liked having him as a friend. And part of being a hero is dealing with the punches. When you give in and you lose, I don't know how to react. I don't have loser friends," said Deku. Ida would then start to quiver and shake until tears flew out, and he said that he knew it wouldn't solve anything. "But how can someone do that? Just take away my brother's legs and still stay alive? Because things suck, but that's what you and me are here for, right? Heroes." Ida would slightly nod as Deku then asked again what they are. "Heroes. We're heroes." "That's right," said Deku, as he would then bring Ida in for a hug and let him release his frustration, while Deku started to realize he had been so absorbed in himself that the ideals of a hero were just leaving his mind. It's just like... He then thought of Bakugo as a kid and shook his head, saying he'd never become like that. And then cut to a few hours later. Deku sat across from Jiraiya, eating, when he then asked, "Am I selfish?" "I say you're pretty self-absorbed." "Yes," said Jiraiya. "I said selfish." "Well, you're both. For you it works though. Pure thoughts and motivations aren't always the only way someone can grow." "Yeah, duh, you gotta focus on yourself, but is that all you can do?" Jiraiya sees Deku is frustrated, to say the least, and he has never seen him like this before, but he smiles. "Do you know what the difference between you and Endeavor is? I'm 15 and he's an old man." "Jeez, you're stupid. What drives you both is your ego, but he let it overtake him. I knew him when he was younger. A bundle of insecurities, yet somehow you seem different even though you should be the same, so... what's the difference?" Taking a moment, Deku then says it must be because he lets people in, and Jiraiya says that's correct. "Now stop being so down, it's bizarre as hell." Yeah. Thanks." Jiraiya says no problem, and they continue their meal. Once a whole week is up, Deku would then soon leave the man, but to say the man left an impact on him was an understatement. He had gained a much calmer attitude. He and one neighbor convene in class like usual, and they have all changed in some ways, as Ida tells everyone about his brother, so they can best know how to console him, but he is definitely getting better, though he's not completely fine yet. After that, they are then taken for rescue training at Ground Gamma, as Deku, Mina, Sero, Ida, and Ojiro would have to face each other, and everyone watched the monitors as they began to place bets, just as All Might then says to begin, and instantly Deku blasts past everyone until he lands on a pipe and starts to just move even faster after jumping off. "Something's different about that guy," said Bakugo. "Yes, that energy, it's more calm," said Todoroki. Almost instantly, Deku lands beside All Might as he would then turn to see everyone still coming, and he feels a stare and turns to see All Might. "What?" "Sorry, I thought you'd be posing or singing your own praises by now." "Yeah, well, I'm strong, I don't need to flaunt it," said Deku. All Might then said alright, and said that he could tell Jiraiya definitely knocked some sense into him, and he says to shut up. He didn't change. He has. And he's denying it a little bit. And as he waits for everyone else to arrive, after they do, everyone gets a turn to race until they head back to the locker rooms and then go back to class. Aizawa then tells them about the Force Law, so they begin to study, and in between, Deku takes Ida and Uraraka to that gym he was talking about. Then the day came, their studies were used in a written exam, but they would find themselves standing before their teachers outside as buses would be lined up behind, and they're clearly confused. "I thought we were gonna fight robots again," said Mina. Aizawa then says they had a change of plans, just as Principal Nezu then leaps out from his scarf. "What were you doing in there?" asked Deku. "Nothing much, just waiting," said Nezu as he asks for some help to get down, and after 13 helps, he stands straight and says that he will declare now that teachers will be fighting their students because we want to make sure that the USJ incident doesn't repeat itself, but in case it does, you must be ready. We're on the villain's radar. Those little shits must have lost their minds if they think they can still beat us," said Deku. "Well, it is what it is. Even I'll be participating," said Nezu. "Todoroki, Yaoyorozu, you're with me," said Aizawa. "Midoriya and Katsuki, you'll be facing him." He points behind and everyone turns to see All Might walk up as they quickly just start to feel bad for the two, but more specifically because they still have a grudge which might intensify the match and make it worse. Other teams would then be made before they are then driven to their sites by their teachers that they be facing, and Bakugo and Deku are dropped off in the city ruins and walk around checking their equipment. "So, you wanna do this?" asked Deku. "Why the hell are you trying to act like we always work together as a team?" replied Bakugo. "I'm not doing it for you," said Deku, and Bakugo said in that case he could just screw off, just as a massive explosion of a shockwave mows down many buildings before then hitting them and almost taking them to the floor. From afar they see All Might show from the smoke while having a smile, and he would give off this pressure that is just freezing. Bakugo gets ready for a fight just as he then feels a touch from behind, and his body will then fill with energy, and as he turns he sees Deku sitting down in his cloaked form. "I know, I'm amazing. Now look forward," said Deku. As Bakugo goes to yell at him, All Might then appears right in front of him, and he would actually dodge a punch from him, which surprises himself before he then throws an explosion to his face and blows him to the ground. "What the hell did you do?" asked Bakugo. Deku then says he was speeding him up. "I know I'd win, so I'm gonna leave it to you." With a grin, Bakugo then attacks again as All Might backs away, but he blitzes him and slams another attack into his stomach. "Incredible, I never thought I'd see the day they work together," thought All Might. He would try to catch Bakugo, but he would just keep dodging and attacking, however, and he doesn't even know how to react. But that doesn't mean that All Might is being affected, and he would keep attacking until he's actually caught by the foot and slammed to the ground. "I applaud your efforts, but this is your first time using such a power, isn't it, Midoriya?" But the click of his tongue, Deku then stands say, "My bad." Bakugo then starts to get up asking who the hell he is, because the usual him would never apologize about something like this, before he then pulls the pin on his grenade, and while the enhancement is still on him, he hits All Might point blank, just as he is then grabbed by Deku, who starts to run to the gate. "What, you're not gonna complain?" asked Deku. Bakugo doesn't answer though, just as All Might then starts running towards them, but as he appears about to punch, Deku will then flash both his Jogan at him, and this would catch All Might off guard, and he's effectively caught in a mind lock, as he then begins to fall, just as Deku then runs out the gate, with him and Bakugo being considered the winners. He lets down Bakugo and leaves his cloaked state, and Bakugo would say, "I haven't been giving up on kicking your ass. When you figure it out, I'll be waiting for you," Deku said as he walked forward, and Bakugo followed with a slight smile. All the students then hear the two passing, but if Deku used that mind lock, then even All Might can escape, so they're not that surprised, but feel more motivated to work harder. Deku and Bakugo would go watch them compete with Recovery Girl, and after All Might was released, he of course drove them back, and yeah, he had to take a while. And then one by one, they all came to watch the others finish, and eventually everyone finished, and unfortunately, not everyone passed. The next day in class, those who didn't pass would be freaking out, while Deku said not to worry. "I'm like 50% sure this is just another ruse from Sensei. The other 50% means we miss out on the loss," said Kaminari, as he plunges more into sadness, or darkness, maybe both. And Sero tries to reassure him, but Mina, Sato, Kirishima just can't get out of their slump, And during their little episode, Aizawa would actually walk in and they all take a seat. As he reveals, they will actually be going despite how good or bad they did. Oh, thank God, the four of y'all. See, says Sero. Don't get confused. You'll be taking supplementary lessons, said Aizawa. Looking to Sero, Kaminari would then say, so you were saying? Sero would then say not to get mad at him, and besides, they're going anyway, and they do agree it's much better than the alternative. So when school ends for the day, everyone gathers and decides to go shopping for things they need, and the next day they all go to the mall as people will split up into groups. Deku goes with Ida, and Uraraka proceeds to get things like bug spray and etc. However, in this version of events, Shogaki does not show being fully aware that he would simply get frozen in time after one look from, Deku. He's not that stupid. This day of shopping went quite swell. And as days passed, they would then get on the buses with 1A and 1B heading to the Forest Lodge after preparing everything they needed, like, everything. And then after a 1-hour drive, 1A's bus comes to a stop, while 1B's would just simply pass them. The students exit the vehicle, stretching and yawning, but as they see the other bus pass, they ask why they're not stopping. Mineta, meanwhile, was just looking for a place to pee. Mineta points out a car forward, and everyone notices it, and from it then walks out Pixie Bob and Mandalay, who introduce themselves while posing. Who's the brat? Asked Deku. None of your business, answered Koda. Instantly, Deku cannot stand him, with Aizawa then saying the group will be working with the hero group in training and just everything. And walking to the rail of the cliff, Mandalay then points to their home far in the forest. You guys will be living there for the camp. Then why did we stop here? Asked Kaminari. The two heroes only smiled to this, which made them very suspicious, as Sero then suggests they maybe leave, and everyone starts to agree as they start running back. But then Deku would run forward and he would leap past the rail and enter his cloaked state, which is surprising to see, but more importantly, they asked what the hell he was doing. Oh, come on, they're not going to give us a choice, at least this way, have more fun. He starts to freefall with Bakugo and Todoroki, along with Ida rushing past the rails as well, which surprised Pixie Bob and Mandalay. Meanwhile, Koda thought they were crazy, and just for the hell of it, the entire group then ran forward following the example of the four, and when they came to crash, they would see Deku shooting beams from his hands at these bizarre monsters made of earth. When did you learn that? Asked Kirishima. During the internships. Duh, said Deku. From above, Mandalay would then say to watch out for the beast, which they all agree is something she should have told them much sooner instead of just trying to scare them, but quickly they rush and ran forward and start to beat them up. Deku stays ahead, moving as a blur as he slams a kick into one of the beasts and it blows up to pieces, and he would then land as he then attacks all over, using the trees to jump off of before then running past that had attacked him, and they would blow up to pieces. So this is what he used against All Might, said Todoroki, as he then pierces a beast, but jumping past him, Bakugo then throws an explosion, saying no, he used something else. As Deku lands, he then remembers that it might be a good idea to use what he did on Bakugo, and he applied to everyone. So he runs back and raises his hand with Bakugo high-fiving him, and he starts to burst with light, and surprised, Todoroki would high-five Deku when he reaches him. He would also explode with light, as Deku then soon reaches everyone, but when he reaches Mineta, he said, just go, man, we'll cover for you. With tears in his eyes, he would thank Deku before then going to pee, and Deku would then turn as he yells, you guys are in for a surprise. From above, as Pixie Bob focuses on the beast, she becomes wide-eyed as Mandalay and Aizawa then see flashes of light rip through the forest, and Pixie Bob asks what the hell Deku is. They already reached the camp. What? Said Aizawa, as he turns to her surprised, but she is dead serious. Down below, everyone has arrived at the campsite and lose light and, all that power, with Deku then losing his cloak form. My bad, you might feel a bit uncomfortable. I've never done this before. That was awesome, says Kirishima. They all agree, saying they felt so powerful that it was insane, but then Uraraka asked where Mineta was, and with a look of embarrassment, Deku would run back in with his cloak form to get him because he was still peeing. We then fade to black as night would fall, and we find 1A eating their meal, with the three heroes watching, still processing what Deku had done. I knew he was going to be amazing, but that much of a wide effect? Said Mandalay. He's a supporter and a combatant, Pixie Bob says. Aizawa says that he got a report from Jiraiya that he wasn't, he was gonna be amazing, but he wasn't expecting this much growth, and the two are left starstruck that he took another student in, but Aizawa confirms it, saying that Deku definitely benefited a lot from him. After eating, everyone went to the onsen where Deku saves Koda and brings him to Mandalay, before then learning a bit about him. Then the next day, 1B found 1A torturing himself to get stronger. Deku in this timeline was put to the test by having him shoot those beams he can release into the sky, and with a scream he would do so for the 5th time, and he would part the clouds as a shockwave is felt down by everyone who almost fall over. I think that was his strongest by far, says Sato. Meanwhile, 1B was just flabbergasted, as Monoma would say, I'm never copying his quirk again. It's a good idea, says Black King. In this case, if you copy his quirk, you don't copy the experience and training that he's gotten so far to get it. Monoma then realizes why the copy didn't work, because it needed a lot of skill in a way. So Deku is a blank and what he would now call a break, because if you use him, you will literally break. After a while of tough training, they let 1B take over, and while they take showers and start eating, they would also cook their own meals this time. But as they ate, Deku notices Kota walk off, so he would grab a bento full of food and follow him. As he finds that he would be sitting near a cliff of the mountain, looking off into the sky. "Hey kid." Kota would then turn with urgency, asking what the hell he was doing here, and Deku was about to explode with a snapback, but he calms down and walks over as he puts the bento down. "It's for you. Eat it." "Go away, I never asked you to do this. This is my spot, got it?" A vein would then pop on his forehead at this point, as he would try to hide it with a smile, saying, "Look, I'm trying to be less selfish, kid, so take the goddamn food." With a scowl, Kota however throws it off the mountain, only for Deku to then move fast and catch it, asking what the hell Kota's problem is. "Go away. You came here to act like the type of person that you're not. You don't care about me, you only care about yourself." These words will strike a chord in Deku because he can't necessarily deny them, so with a sigh, he puts down the bento and says, "Fine, don't come crying back when you get hungry." He starts to leave as Kota will then turn more angry than before, and Deku will reflect on his motivation a little bit. The third day of training came as 1A and 1B pushed themselves even more again to their absolute limits before 1A then gets ready for dinner. But as Deku was putting in dry wood for the fire, Todoroki came over to light it, so he asked, "Am I a good friend?" I came out of nowhere. "Just answer the question," said Deku. Todoroki would chuckle, saying, "Yes, you are. You could show it in a better way, but it's hard for someone to change that easily. The fact that you seem to be taking an effort at all already shows how much you care. Just show it better through your actions as well." Deku would thank Todoroki. He says, "There's no problem. It's the least I could do, since we're friends." That day, Deku does not go to Kota, even though he sees him go off, because he would make things worse, and he acknowledges that. And another day passed, and on the fourth day, after training, while others would be taking lessons, others would be paired up for the test of courage. Deku, Ida, Mineta, and Kota stay to wait for their turn, but Deku is the only one who's like the extra left out, which pisses him off. But it is what it is, so they wait while Mina, Sato, Kirishima, and Kaminari are dragged away. Very soon, however, the smell of smoke starts to come their way, just as Deku then says the force is on fire, and everyone takes notice of this, just as a portal will then form below the boy, and they all become wide-eyed, but giving him a hand, Ida will then grab and pull him out, just as they all back away. "Thanks," said Deku, as he entered his cloaked form, and the portal will then warp away, pissing him off. "What was that about?" asked Deku. Tiger says it's as if they were targeting him specifically, and this thought worried his classmates, but then it came to Deku's mind that he hasn't seen Kota around, and he tells Mandalay where he might be. But before anything else can be said, he just runs into the forest. "I know where he is, don't worry." He would then speed himself up and trail through the entire forest until he reaches the mountain, and he leaps while speeding his time up as he instantaneously arrives at the top. There he sees Kota quivering with a lot of fear and is in the presence of a hooded man who just notices him just as Deku then lands and appears right in front of Kota. "You dumbass, why did you keep coming here?" said Deku as he then looked back to Kota to see that he was too scared to even make a comeback, so he knows this isn't the time. He faces Muscular, who takes off his hood. "Or that kid we're supposed to be getting." "What?" asked Deku. He now understood why the portal came from him, just as Kota then says that he recognizes that guy as the one who went after his parents, and when Kota says that he killed them, something snaps in Deku, while Muscular begins to laugh. "Oh, they were yours, I'm sorry, I don't even remember, I've done it so many times." He's then interrupted by a punch to the stomach as he spews blood right as Deku grabs him by the hair and pulls him down before kneeing him in the face. "How dare you laugh at someone's death, you shit." Kota is surprised at how mad Deku is on his behalf, but Muscular enjoys the pain and explodes with muscle fibers as he throws a punch, but Deku would catch it before activating his rewind, and this would reverse Muscular's activation before Deku then slams another punch into his stomach, and the sheer force of this would blow him off the mountain, and he would crash into another mountain far off. Kota was left in awe as Deku then grabbed him and leapt off the mountain, but he slowed them down so they started to float as they descended. You saved me." "Yeah, what the hell kind of guy do you think I am? I'm not just gonna let you die." "You're right, I'm selfish. Some may even say egotistical, but I'm a hero first and foremost." Wiping his tears, Kota doesn't really know how to react. He always thought heroes were a bit weird. Some act gallant and nice just for attention, while some jump into the line of fire without even thinking. He thought they were crazy. It sounds crazy. But Deku did not hide his flaws and still saved him. In that moment, he became Kota's hero without even realizing it. When he lands, he then blasts off and heads to where he was, back at the place with the teachers, but a flying no more attacks, and so from above he would hit it with a beam that blows his brains out, and he continued to run, wondering why they would do all this just to come for him. "I mean, I know I'm awesome, but still," he thought. He would then arrive back at the site to see Magne and Spinner fighting Tiger and Mandalay, while Pixie Bob laid on the ground out cold with blood flowing out from her head. When the heroes and villains see him, they freeze, and in that instant, Magne and Spinner are sent flying with Deku appearing in front of them. "Where are the others?" "They're headed toward Eraserhead," said Mandalay. She then sees Koda and she will hold her arms out while he runs and hugs her, with her and Tiger being happy that he's okay. Deku meanwhile goes to Pixie as he feels pissed that this happened on his watch, so he gets an idea. Holding his hands over her head, he causes a glow as it will slightly blind the three, and when the light fades, they see Pixie Bob twitch right before getting up, and she wouldn't even have a bruise. Yes, it works, said Deku. You healed her? Asked Tiger. Deku helps up Pixie, saying that he rewinded her time and injuries, so it's not healing. It's like the injuries never happened, and this is just yet another ability that amazes them, as a drowsy Pixie Bob then thanks Deku, and quickly he hands her to Tiger, saying that villains are after him for some reason. What? Then we need to keep you safe, said Mandalay. Hell no, my classmates are being attacked by villains. I ain't just gonna let that happen. He then speeds off as Tiger says, seriously, he's too impulsive. He's young, he'll get over it, but we need to drop you two off at the camp before we go help. Deku meanwhile, Melee, I said this by the way. Deku meanwhile runs into the forest. When in the corner of his eye, he then saw the hand of someone reach out from a portal, and moving fast, he appears atop the portal and would touch it as it rewinds it, causing the portal to then spew out the hero, Ragdoll. Her too, he thought, as he then caught her and thought he was annoyed at the thought that they would even try to like capture her for some reason. And he would carry her while, continuing forward, and he was relieved that he actually saw it in time, and yeah, he got back to running. He was looking for anyone to help, when he then sees a Dark Shadow's claw, a giant claw, come for him, and he would then catch the claw as his feet would dig into the ground before he then shout a rewind, and the claw becomes covered in vector circuits as it would then rewind in time, and we then see Tokoyami return back to normal while a hurt Shoji would then stand after being blown away back by him while he was trying to help. Midoriya, thank you, said Tokoyami. I thought you were training to stop that, said Deku. Tokoyami would then apologize as Deku sighs, saying that's not important right now. Are you sure you're good? Shoji says that he only went a little crazy after some guy with blades for teeth tried to hurt him, but Tokoyami then asks what happened to Ragdoll. After he explains what happened, they then run to the nearest place with sound, just like bombastic sound, and they stumbled upon Todoroki and Bakugo being attacked by Moonfish. Todoroki erected a wall of ice to stop the blades while he protected a student he had randomly found, and Bakugo throws a massive explosion, but using the blades as his feet, the villain would then two-step and direct everything to stab Bakugo. In that instant, though, Shoji would then appear in front of Bakugo as he would just punch away the blades while enhanced by Deku. Do not get ahead of yourself, said the student, as he then extend multiple of his fists at the speed of sound and slam so many punches into the villain that he couldn't react fast enough. Octo blow, said Shoji. Todoroki then stood thanking him as Deku and Tokoyami then ran in asking if they were okay. Of course I am, you idiot. Why is she here, said Bakugo. Talk later, His feet then begin to sink into a portal again, with everyone noticing, but once more he rewinds the portal to nothing, causing everyone to ask what the hell that was about, but Deku said it was nothing, but they all thought he's definitely hiding something. At that moment, Manlay's words then ran through everyone's mind, telling them to reconvene at the camp, and she already gave them a order to fight before, when, everything happened. And so they said that the fight was ending and they were helping them now. They were in the forest, so Tiger and Tiger and Pixie Bob were already back to work. They even beat some Nomus in the way. So the boys started heading back, but a wave of flames then blocked their way, and Todoroki would meet it with the wall of ice, but it is easily melted through to show Dabi. Dabi, Mr. Compress, Twice, and Toga make themselves known, as Mr. Compress would say, "They'll be coming with us." He points to Deku, who says that's never gonna happen. So this is what it was. Midoriya, you have to be more honest, said Todoroki. I'll do that when we take care of them, said Deku, as the villains then riled themselves up for a fight, but then they stopped and touched their ears, confusing the students before they realized they were receiving Inko through some comms or something, and with the pout, Toga then said unfortunately they had to leave. Bye, Izuku, she said, as everyone her and everyone are then warped away, and Deku couldn't move in time. God damn it, said Bakugo. In the following hours, students will return back to camp and return to the forest to pick up some of those hurt and injured students, and luckily no one was taken and people had minor injuries, and what happened however was a roller coaster as the media attacked UA relentlessly, but this time they didn't lose a student, so that's better, and it's because people deserve the truth. They said the villains were after Deku. The reason being is that he posed some threat to them last time, and as the reporters heard this, one asked, "What ran through your mind, Miss Manley, when this was all happening?" I admit I could have done more to keep him in check, but because of that child, I got to keep one of my best friends and my nephew. He almost died. From Midoriya's reports, the villains were trying to capture her as well, and one of them tried to kill my nephew. They start mumbling amongst the reporters, and this is when someone raised their hand for Nezu, and Nezu pointed at her, and she would stand asking, "So, you find it fit to have your students fight for you? I want you to tell me what you would do." He would answer, "What? Tell me what you would do." He stares on the reporter, who doesn't really know what to say. None of them do, as Nezu then says, "I never wish for our kids to put themselves in danger. It's circumstantial. Midoriya took it upon himself to not see anyone get hurt. I guess he didn't have enough trust in us, but..." It happened. As Deku watched from his home, though he wasn't laughing like he usually would, he felt a bit guilty, but he was given the chance to help, and he did. And if he was given another chance in that same moment, he would do it all over again. Even Aizawa states that he is proud of all of them. Because of Momo, they now have a location to the villain's hideout, and the heroes have already started their raid. It was night, by the way, if I didn't make that clear. Because of my students, those villains will be put to an end once and for all. We then cut to the heroes arriving at Kamino, and as they stare down the ruins, Jiraiya would then ask, might be a good time to use it. He looks to All Might as Grand Shinobi does say, I really hope this works. All Might would then take out a band-aid that he had gotten from Deku, and he would stick it to his side. The side that had been hurt for so long, and the heroes are blinded by a slight light, with All Might then feeling invigorated, but most heroes are confused. When the light fades, however, with a nervous laugh, All Might would say, it's gone! It's gone! Rantrino almost gets teary-eyed as Jiraiya then says he expected nothing less from a student, and Endeavor at this moment then walks up asking, what are you going on about? It's nothing, Endeavor. Young Midoriya simply gave me a bit of help. I've been dealing with an injury, and well, he's healed it. It's been really hard to deal with. That kid just pulls out stuff from nowhere, thought Endeavor. But the nation didn't know how much they had to thank Deku. Because of him, Kamino would change a lot. In this version of events, All for One is not only beaten, but he's beaten with so much prowess that the villain himself was confused when he found himself destroyed. Nothing but cheers filled the country and cities of Japan as they witnessed a spectacle that Ragdoll had to miss because they didn't want her to get kidnapped, so she talked on the comms and helped. All Might was back in his prime, and that day he had already given away his quirk though, so he was still about to lose it because Miro possessed it, but he still had a chance to, make a change in the world, and he only had it for a few months, but he's back in his prime. The school dorm system is still put in place, and teachers go around asking for approval of students who said, yeah, the parents say okay, and it's not that much of a hassle. As such, 1A and 1B quickly are put into the school, and they live there for the foreseeable future. And as they settle into their new home, before they knew it, night had fallen as all the boys would then gather in the common area. I can't believe we're really going to be living together, said Kaminari. Yet another way of training your sense of law. Communal living, said Ida. Sarah would then laugh, saying to not wear himself out too much, as the girls would then walk in, asking if they had finished setting up the rooms yet. Yeah? Why? asked Deku. We were just thinking maybe we could look into each other's rooms as a kind of game, said Mina, and Kaminari and Mineta show signs of worry, but also see an opportunity in this suggestion. But as he stood, Deku said to leave him out of it. I'm gonna go train, so step inside and I'll kill you. Oh, come on, Izuku, said Uraraka. Deku would then say that she could come later on her own. It's really that important to her, making her blush, and he chuckled as Bakugo then followed Deku, asking if he could join. You're not gonna say no to a fight, are you? I'm always down to kick your ass, said Deku. Hearing they were gonna fight, Todoroki followed them as well, saying to leave him out of it as well, and everyone else checked the rooms, and Mina of course already was teasing Uraraka, as were the girls, and she's as red as a tomato. Midoriya is real formidable, thought Mineta. He wishes he could have skills like that. Anyway, that night they all checked the rooms and have a competition, while Bakugo, Deku, and Todoroki fought and wrecked the ground beta, and they were of course monitored by Aizawa and given permission first. But we will end this part here. The last part began with Deku and Jiraiya going to Hosu, and there they step into chaos, and Jiraiya would show his real skills. Deku would then be told by him to go help others, but while he's soon joined by some heroes. He recognizes one of them, and this leads him to picking up on something. He goes and finds Ida, who has been saved by Jiraiya, and Jiraiya beats up the hero killer, so this was spread, and the next day Deku apologizes to Ida for not noticing a strife and not being a good friend. He managed to change his mind somewhat on the part of holding a grudge, but it's still like going on. Ida's still dealing with stuff. And then when he goes back home with Jiraiya, he asks if he's selfish, and this leads to Jiraiya giving him the most powerful words that he would carry with him for a long time. And he would then leave soon as he returns back, and he shows his new control over chakra, and Ida would tell his class about his brother, and they comfort him and all that. The subject of the Force Lodge then comes up, and after weeks of studying, they come in for an exam, and when they come for an exam, and after the written one, they have to fight their teachers. Bakugo is shown Deku's new move as he's literally sped up, and he was able to match All Might in movement, but Deku will be able to move and mind lock him when he tries to get away from him after they try and fight him. They win, and Deku and Bakugo get a little closer, and they go to the Force Lodge soon. Deku shares his new power with everyone, and they end up beating all the monsters at the camp. The teachers are left flabbergasted, but had to deal with it. And night fell, they ate. The next day they trained. And as night fell again, Deku tried to talk to Koda, but when he brought some food, it didn't exactly work. He would go back and ask Todoroki if he was, well, a good friend, because Koda pointed out how selfish he was. And Todoroki would say that he is, but he cares a lot, but he has to show it in a different way, I guess. Yeah, basic stuff. But for Deku, that's a pretty big deal. So he does not talk to Koda again because he knows he's gonna make it worse. However, on the fourth day, the villains attack, and 2 times Deku was targeted by Kurogiri's portal, but through it all, he saves Koda, he saves Bakugo and Todoroki, he even saves Ragdoll from being kidnapped. He would also heal Pixie Bao, showing a new ability, and after the incident, no one is taken, but the villains were after Deku, so yeah. The heroes that attacked Kamino a few days later, and luckily, not only did All Might get healed by Deku, who gave him a band-aid, but All Might would just go back to his prime because his time was also reversed. He and the heroes destroy All for One, and soon the dorm system is put into place, and we ended off on Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki going to train, while everyone had fun checking out their rooms. So, we're going to begin this with a 2-day time skip ahead, as 1A sits in class, and Aizawa says, like I mentioned last class, from now on our main objective will be the provisional licenses. I heard the tests are really hard, Samineta, and since when has anything at UA been easy, said Deku. Aizawa that says that they are hard, but that's why the other teachers are helping them. He then calls in Midnight, Cementos, and Ectoplasm, and Ectoplasm will say, today we focus on ultimate moves. Oh, hell yeah, I got a bunch of ideas, said Deku, and everyone shares his excitement as they're told to go change, and after they are led to the TDL, where the teachers will be getting to work, and Ectoplasm uses his clones to watch over them. Cementos made their targets, he made pillars, he rose up the terrain, and he made targets for them, places to train. Midnight gave them inspiration, and Aizawa was just the supervisor of sorts, my bad. We find Deku atop one of these many mountainous platforms when he and Ectoplasm will be encircling each other. So, what have you thought of Midoriya as the hero? Bringing out 4 beasts from his powers, Deku would then imbue them with time as well as chakra before he threw them, and they come to surround the hero before then piercing him with beams from all sides, and the clone would then poof to nothing, as the beasts would then pull back to Deku, who also added a rewind onto them, and he then yells, send 10 more this time, it's too lax, Ecto. As the real Ectoplasm watched from below, he was surprised to say the least. That kind of super move is almost undodgeable. He then created more clones and they ran over, and the voice of All Might would then be heard by Aizawa, who turns to see him. Looks like you took time of your busy schedule, he said. All Might would then apologize for being late. So, everyone is doing their best. But, that's new. He points forward to see Deku sticking onto the wall parallel, to the platforms, and those who saw this would be frozen as well because, well, he was literally running up, the pillars, and from atop, Ectoplasm would ask, Were you planning this? Hell no. This is awesome, said Deku, as he would just go with the flow and begin to run around the pillar as if it was nothing, leaving everyone baffled. How do you even do that? Asked Kaminari. How should I know, said Deku, as he proceeded to run back and forth and just all around, and he would then actually leap off into the air, and as he was midair, he would then release a whip of chakra that extends and rips through the clones, while his malicious grin would return. Yeah, he's having way too much fun to care, said Hakure. Angered, Bakugo then asked for more ectoplasm clones because what he just saw is insane, and now he had to up his game again. And All Might then asks what it is that Deku actually controls, that energy. And Aizawa says he has it named as chakra, life energy, courtesy of Sage Jiraiya. From the looks of it, it also has an adhesive property, said All Might. And who cares? I've seen far too much from that child to be surprised now. After getting used to what he just saw, All Might would give some advice to the kids, and with 4 days left, everyone would refine their moves and do everything they could think of with their powers. And Deku did go see Mei to get some things worked up, but he only had his beats changed. He turned them to actual projectiles, taking inspiration from his own shtick of the whole ninja thing, and the fact that he does hands-on, chakra, all of that. He got kunais made for himself, and they're still the same heavy weight, and they're all proportioned only to him. And he works on the fact that he could now work on parallel, and he could run and walk on different surfaces and stuff. So he literally found out he could even walk on water, which was crazy, but he worked on it and kind of made it very awesome. This increased his control over chakra even more until the day that the exams actually arrived, and the 1A class walked off their bus to face the Koba arena. I'm getting nervous now, said Jiro. You should be. Everyone's coming after us, said Deku. Uraka then points out that he doesn't exactly look worried, as in fact he's freaking laughing and smiling, to which Deku says, yeah, I feel bad for them. I'm gonna grind them to pieces. Aizawa then says they cannot wuss out now because they must stay steadfast, and they've shown very, very good promise, so they can't just, stop now. And they promise to, do so, and they hype themselves up, and they're gonna do their classic chant of Plus Ultra when Inasa then joins in, weirding them out. Who the hell are you? Asked Deku. I apologize, said Inasa, as he bows and hits his head to the floor, and Deku would say he didn't want an apology, he just wanted to know who he was. Standing straight, Inasa would then start to bleed from his head, saying he was from Shiketsu, and his name was Inasa. And this is when his classmates walked up apologizing for his behavior. I hope you have a good match, said the furry Nagasama. However, he would then slightly avoid Deku's gaze, making him smile. Don't worry, I won't freeze you. I'm well aware you won't do it now, but I'm just trying to teach myself to avoid your gaze. He slightly bows and tells everyone to follow, and as they leave, Todoroki would then say, so to win, we simply have to make Midoriya keep an eye on everyone. Hell no, I'm gonna fight on my own, said Deku. You're pretty rad in real life, huh? They all then turn to see Miss Joker who has said this, and her very presence makes Aizawa a bit uncomfortable, and of course she keeps asking about marriage and stuff like that, just making jokes, which fits her very well. And this would actually make Mina, of course, have thoughts of like, oh, they're getting together, Mina is that gossip type of girl. Anyway, Miss Joker would then call over her students, when Shindo would then walk up to shake Deku's hand, only to then be met by a stare, and he freezes in his tracks, and Deku would then smile. Yeah, you're not fooling me. These eyes are more than just for show. Don't let him touch you, said Deku as he pulled back his hand and turns around, walking past them to the arena. And with all this, one day start to look at him suspiciously as Miss Joker would then come to Shindo and put her hand on Shindo's shoulder. At least you tried. As Shindo watched one day go off, he said, seriously, how do I fight someone I can't even look at? Soon all the students would then be put in their costumes and gather in a wide room and have things explained to them by an overseer and an overweight Mera from the Public Hero Safety Commission. He's tired as hell. When he's done, the building would then literally fall apart and the clock would start to count down as they revealed their battleground, and Deku would then leap out from the crowd as he would start running to the city area on his own, and he would then enter his cloak state and increase his speed tenfold. He would then leap into the sky and start running up a tall building, and as other students ran into the city, they're surprised he can do such a thing. Well, Deku would then arrive at the top and he looks over the entire area until he cracks a smile, and he would leap to the right. After he would try to go after his first targets. They're all gonna die, honestly. They have no chance. Meanwhile, Mera will be looking at the scorekeeper when he becomes wide-eyed as he screams into the speakers, Izuku Midoriya has just earned 300 points in just 5 minutes. Hearing this, all the kids become amazed. Meanwhile, the teachers watch Deku walk out with his hands on his head as he would walk past many laid-out students out cold before him and around him. That was actually boring. As he walks forward, he would then see some kids fighting, only for them to stop when he enters the area, and one student actually gets tagged because he was distracted, and this makes Deku laugh. Don't worry, didn't you hear? I'm out. Jeez. Speeding up his time, he then leaps into the air and jumps over all of them as they breathe a sigh of relief before then continuing their bouts. Deku meanwhile goes to the waiting room and takes a break, and Inase would then soon come in after ranking in 120 points, if I'm not wrong, and he would then say, Izuku Midoriya, right? Yeah? What? Inase marches over saying he was very impressed with the way he fought in the festival, and he would hold his hand out as Deku would take a moment before shaking it. You're a pretty carefree guy, huh? I've been told I'm actually pretty tense, said Inase, and Deku laughed saying that he agrees with that as well. The two would actually get along quite well, and soon the room would fill with many students after a bit of time passed, and this included all of 1A that managed to pass, and as the test comes to an end, with 100 people being in it, they watch as the area is basically bombed, and out then comes some actors acting as rescuees for them to, well, rescue, and they spread out, they spray fake blood all over themselves, they get ready. And as the walls fall over again, they fall apart. Momo instantly makes a kind of station to bring the injured over while everyone fans out, and many stay on the platform to just have a little station and have their friends or like classmates just run out. Deku and the others do their best rescuing people and end up with good points or negative ones based on how they treat them. And Bakugo actually saves people because he will not lose to Deku, who he saw bring back 2 satisfied people at some point. So he's not trying to lose, he doesn't care, like he just wants to win. But then a giant explosion would then be heard, and as they look off to their left from the platform, the rescuers and students see the Gang Orca and his men make an entrance as he was acting as the main villain. Come on, bring it, he said as he would then scream, sending out a sonic attack as he did not want to take any chances after spotting Deku. But running before everyone, Deku punches, releasing a wave of chakra that would hit and reverse the attack, leaving everyone amazed. Gang Orca didn't think that he could affect something that did not have a solid form, so he's a bit surprised. He improvised. This kid, thought Gang Orca. Quickly, he then sent out his henchmen who begin to fire their cement guns, and this was basically something that sticks to you and holds you to the ground. And this is when Shindo runs past Deku as he would avoid one of these blasts, and with the touch of the ground, he began to make everything shake and crumble, making the henchmen trip and fall. Gang Orca would then attack him from a blind spot, however, as he releases a sonic attack and freezes the boy in place, just as he would have to jump back and avoid a wave of ice. Todoroki then fires another attack, but it is shattered by a sonic scream, just as a wave of wind would then push back the hero and his people, well, villain in this case. Todoroki looks up to see a flying Inasa, and the two would lock eyes, and instantly this is when chaos begins. As Deku keeps coming back and running with many people, his eyes soon see the two trying to keep each other out of their way, and essentially just fighting. Those idiots, he thought. He would soon drop the woman he had on his back and say, stay. He runs off and would chuck 4 kunai towards some of Gang Orca's men, as well as 2 towards Todoroki and Inasa. As they're hit, they become frozen in time and just freeze there, with Hinata just being stuck in midair, while Deku runs to the villains, and in a flash, he then appears behind the group. A delayed impact would then blow all their clothes off, and this includes Gangorka, as they would have a fist-like dent on all their chests. He hit them really hard, and like the teachers would be amazed, like, incredible, he diffused everything instantly, and he did. As he does this, Deku would then hold his hand out with his kunai all coming back to him, and as he catches them, he would unfreeze Inasa and Todoroki before then yelling, "What the hell do you think you are doing? What do you think you were doing, huh?" Feeling intense anger from Deku, they become tight-lipped, with Inasa then landing down, while Deku would then walk past him, asking, "How blind are you? Todoroki's nothing like his dad. Take another look." Hearing this come from even Deku leaves him surprised as he looks back to Todoroki, and his eyes no longer, in fact, look like his father. He didn't have any vengeance or like hate or anything, but he was just too blind to notice it because, well, he was a bit petty. "I'm such an idiot," Todoroki and Inasa thought. Soon the test would then come to an end, with everyone returning to their normal uniforms while they see if their names were put up on the boards. They see their scores, and many of them were on there. However, Todoroki and Inasa were not. "Ha! Suck it, Icy Hot! I passed," yells Bakugo. And as he looks to Todoroki, however, his feeling of victory would fade because Todoroki would just like be looking sad, but he congratulates him, and he just felt so pissed at himself. And while Wane felt bad for him, Inasa would then walk up at this point, and he bows, hitting his head to the ground. "I'm sorry, because of my pettiness, you were screwed over." Calming down, Todoroki says that he had a big part in making all of this happen as well, so it's also his fault. Luckily though, Mira says that everyone will have a chance to get their licenses if they fail this time, so this applies to everyone who failed, and Deku would then walk up to and slap Todoroki on the back, as Todoroki would then look back in pain, and Deku would say, "Sorry about that, but hurry up and join me, okay?" "I will be sure to." So what'd you get?" "100%, said Deku as he held up his test sheet to his face, and as Momo heard this, she would gasp, as Deku would then laugh into the air saying she can suck it. "Midoriya!" yells Jiro. "Again, don't expect too much from me," said Deku as he continued to laugh, pissing off other school kids, but they couldn't even deny that he was amazing, and if anything, he was holding back because he didn't show that like kind of huge grin he always had when he was fighting. He showed it once or something, but he was never like super excited. He just took them all out easy. At the end of all of it, the ones who have passed get their licenses, their cars, and Deku sends a picture of the car to his mom before they all get back on the bus and go back home. And after this, Monet goes back to school, and they work for about a minimum of 4 days on normal stuff, until one day the entire school is then called out for a speech. And when Monet returns after the speech, Suyu would then ask, "What was the work studies about?" "That's what we're actually going to be focusing on today," said Aizawa. "Come in." Everyone hears the door slide open as Mirio, Nejire, and Tamaki enter, while being introduced as the big three of UA, and the class is a bit amazed because they heard about them, but Deku takes a closer look before them bursting into laughter. "You're that guy whose clothes... your clothes came off during the obstacles in the last festival." He points to Mirio, and he just couldn't help but like just laugh at him, with the young hero being embarrassed, with everyone just apologizing for him, but Deku says, "That doesn't mean much, I just thought it was funny. Other than that, you're strong." "Thanks, same to you," said Mirio. After this, the three would all introduce themselves, even if they were a little weird about it, until Mirio then suggests they fight so they can understand what he was talking about in terms of learning experience and stuff like that from their work studies. This is allowed by Aizawa, and they all go to the TDO in their gym uniforms, as Sir would then ask, "Are you sure about this?" Mirio would be stretching as he said that he would indeed fight them all, and Tamaki says that he shouldn't do this, while he had his face planted onto a wall. "Seriously, we don't want any broken things beyond fixing. Just go with the usual lesson." Nejire would then say, "There was this kid who quit being a hero a long time ago after being discouraged. It caused a lot of trouble." "Shut up!" The voice of Deku would then echo as he turns to see the two. "Say another word and I'll kick you into the dirt. Who the hell do you think you're talking to?" They two become tight-lipped as Deku then starts walking to Mirio, as he would then say that he'd take a shot first. "Like I said, you're strong." Right in front of Mirio, in the blink of an eye, he slams a punch into his stomach, which actually lands even though he was supposed to be in permeation, leaving Nejire and Tamaki shocked, but Wane was confused, and Deku continued, "You're strong, but you are not beating me." "What exactly is that guy's quirk anyway?" asked Bakugo. As Mirio comes to land, he holds his stomach in absolute pain as Deku says, "I always remember strong people." "Okay, yeah, they underestimated you a bit," said Mirio. Deku says, "Of course they did. I fucking control time. To me, a quirk like yours is non-existent. When I punch you, every single time, your time will rewind, and I'll sock you." "Again, what is this guy's quirk?" asked Bakugo. "I don't get why this is so amazing, Deku." "It's called permeation," said Aizawa, just as Mirio would then sink into the ground, and he would then come behind the entire class, and just as they turned, they would all be hit by a blow to the stomach. Even Bakugo, who would fall over, clenching his stomach in complete pain. "Midoriya just made it look easy. This guy's strong," they all thought. While the rest of them attacked Mirio, Tamaki would then walk to Aizawa, asking if Deku said really the truth and if he wasn't joking around, and Aizawa would say, "Why would he lie? It was probably a bad idea to belittle Midoriya. He has a thing about it. He may hurt Mirio beyond repair. What? That's super dangerous, said Nejire. He can heal people. He'll be fine, as Aizawa said. Still, said Tamaki. Mirio would then finish off everyone and feel something as he would then duck and actually avoid a punch from Deku, who skids in front of him. You actually dodged. Nice. Alright, let's. I give up. I give up, said Mirio. Deku would then freeze before then grinding his teeth. Oh, come on. Sorry, I'd rather not. I've made my point and you've made yours. Though angered, Deku would then cross his arms saying, yeah, I guess you kinda did. I didn't get to, though. And did you really have to hurt us this bad to get it across, though, said Zoro. Putting a thumbs up, Mirio would then say yes, with Bakugo then saying that he'd kill him, and, well, he's trying to hold back so much right now. So after putting on his clothes, Mirio would then gather everyone to talk about how his quirk really works, and the fact that he had to learn to adapt to law, and after a speech, they all give a clap, and Nejire and Tamaki then apologizing to them. We didn't mean to belittle you, but things happen, said Tamaki. Nah, it's fine, we got destroyed, said Kirishima. Well, Midoriya didn't, but he's weird. What do you mean weird, said Deku, as he grabs and puts Kirishima in the headlock, with Kirishima then saying he was just joking around, and it surprised Tamaki and Nejire, considering how he did a complete 180 out of nowhere. After this, the big three would leave, and there are no hard feelings, but returning back, everyone would talk about how hard they were going to work and who they were going to work with, if it was going to be the same people or what. And after school ends, as the sun starts to set, we find Deku running around Yuri grounds, just exercising, while on top of Jiraiya. Yeah, sure, kid, said the former hero. Awesome! Clean up your magazines, though, said Deku. However, the hero would then hang up, pissing off Deku, but with a smile, he would just feel happy about working with him again, because it's fun, and he would then increase speed and put his phone away. A day later, when the weekend came, Deku would then run through the common area with an apple, while Tokoyami, Mineta, Kirishima, and Kaminari were just laying around, and he runs past them, saying hi as they do the same. He then reaches the outdoors and runs past he then reaches the outdoors and runs past Todoroki, saying good luck, buddy, and he would then say thanks. Also, don't talk while you eat. And Deku would then leap into the air as he would enter his cloak form and just go. And Todoroki feels envious of the fact that he can just use his quirk now due to his license, but he resolves himself to catch up. Instead of taking the train, Deku would just run to Naruhata where his master lived and soon arrived at the hermit's house, and once he opens up the door, it goes to hit him, but with a tap he will then spread his vector circuits and freeze it, and he then looks on the other side to see a smiling Jiraiya. Not bad. Did you really think I'd fall for the same thing? Asked Deku, as he walks in and the door would then return to its normal flow in time, allowing Jiraiya to close it. So, how'd you get her so fast? Asked Jiraiya. I ran. So, what are we gonna do? Jiraiya would then stroke his chin as he said, screw it, we're hunting villains again. Deku would then get excited at the thought as he said that he had figured out even another ability of the Jogan. I can see through people. Covering his chest, Jiraiya would then call him a pervert as Deku yells, you're the only pervert here. I never meant it like that. So what do you say, said the sage, as he walks to the kitchen, and Deku then stood up and walked over, saying it's recent, but he can see things like muscles and veins, and he doesn't really need to predict time anymore because he can now see how someone's going to attack when their muscles contract and all that stuff. And Jiraiya would then take out a pan to cook. Meanwhile, he says, for now, let's eat. Can't hunt if we're not full. Are finally making some sense, said Deku. After the two eat, they would then go hunting for villains, and Deku's new ability proved to be very useful, allowing him to even see through walls when needed to detect people. After he finished work, Deku then ran all the way back to UA, which took him about 45 minutes, and a week passes, and this is when Nadai would actually call for Jiraiya to help with something. As Jiraiya received the call, he would be standing on the sidewalk as he would nod, saying, so you're starting today? Over the phone, Nadai would then say yes, and Jiraiya would then think about it before then saying, yeah, we're coming over. He would hang up and look to the citizens on his right, and they would be in awe to see Deku summon punch into a giant villain, and he would be slammed backward into the cement, and as the villain hits the ground, Deku would land on his forehead and look into his eyes as he becomes frozen. As he does this, Deku would then jump down and is met by the thanks of the police officers who proceed to capture the villain, who returns to normal size, and as he does, he's then taken, with Deku then touching the ground, and his circuits were spread, rewinding time and fixing the road. And this alone gets him even more love from the city, who still couldn't believe that he was just a student. Deku would then lead back to the people, and they would thank him, and he would, wave to them, his fans, and he would then go back to Jiraiya saying, what's up? Can you run us back to Mutsufatsu? Yeah, why? Jiraiya then said they had a meeting to attend, and Deku said he would be fine with it, even though it sounds boring, so he would speed up Jiraiya to run along with him, because he wasn't going to carry him. He said, you lazy, I am not going to carry you. When they arrived at Night Eye's agency, Deku met Uraraka, Tsuyu, Kirishima, as well as the big three who were present with many other heroes, and they came to a table and began to discuss a girl named Eri. So from what we've learned, it seems the Hasaikai are spreading their influence for money, said Bubble Girl. Another drug empire, huh? What's the stuff, asked Jiraiya. In this case, it's something much worse than anything you and I ever stopped. It's a drug that destroys quirks, said Fat Gum. This revelation leaves all those present at a loss for words, as Fat Gum said that Tamaki got hit by the bullet filled with the drug, but luckily he was okay. We even managed to get a sample to the Kirishima here, he would say. Huh? Really? Said Kirishima. Happy for him, his classmates then say he did great, and Deku then says, don't mean to barge in here, but did you bring me here to counteract this thing? Other heroes look to the young heroes. Nadai would then say he did. Have you ever rewinded an entire human body? Yeah. Hopefully it works for quirks. I never gone past rewinding activation, but if I focus, then I can totally do it. Good, said Nadai. The discussion then continues with them soon learning that the drug was made of literally someone. Like, it wasn't made by someone, it was made of someone. And this truly motivated everyone because it was made out of a little girl. If anything, that's the only thing that the evidence points to, and now they had to go after the Saikai. However, to pull all this off, they do still need evidence. You're a former psychic of All Might, certainly you can do something, said Fatgum. I can't, we have to rely on analysis, said Night-Eye. Azai would then raise a hand, however, asking why they can't just have him look into their future and see their fates, but Night-Eye says that he can only do it for 1 hour of someone's future. Okay, then let's speed it up, said Deku, as all attention turns to him again, and raising his hand, he covers it with chakra, as he said he would lend Night-Eye some time. And this makes the hero start to ponder if it could actually work, and even Night-Eye wonders about it, but in the end, he says no. Even if I were to tell you something, everything about the future, would you be fine if your life ended in death? Yeah, but I'm not gonna die, said Deku. You can look into my future if you're afraid for the kids, said Rocklock, but Night-Eye once again says no. This sight sends some silence that feels almost suffocating, but Night-Eye just didn't want to burden someone with their own future, and using this power was clearly a sore subject for him. The heroes would just let it go, but now they just want to get eerie, so they hope that everything will just work out due to their pure skill. It takes a minimum of 3 days to find the base, and they also gotta warn and gather a bunch of police and a SWAT team, and brought over as many competent heroes as possible. Walking around, Deku would then hand many heroes marbles that have been made to freeze villains as instructed by Night-Eye. Make sure to keep it close to you, said Night-Eye. Yeah, and the effect lasts for an hour after the target is hit. They won't be able to move, but they're not frozen in time, said Deku, as he soon comes to his classmates and hands it over to them, and they would thank him for it. Even each officer and SWAT team member that was present had one, so they could just be safe just in case, and the leading cop then goes to ring the mansion doorbell. However, as soon as he reaches it, a giant henchman would then break through the gate. What the hell are you doing here? He would then go to hit some police officers up front when Deku appears and tanks the blow, blocking it as his feet would dig into the ground due to the impact. And as it does, this is when a cop would then throw one of his marbles, hitting the man. Instantly, his motor functions all come to a stop, but then starting to fall over, when Ryuko would then transform and catch him, allowing the others to run in. And as they run, when they run across the yard, some people attack them, but some heroes dispatch them very quickly, allowing some officers to stay behind and freeze them as well. The remaining heroes then reach the house and find the secret passage inside, but as it is opened up, 3 men attack them. But they fall over unresponsive after just one glare from Deku. I'll stay behind with the officers, said Bubble Girl, as she tells everyone to go ahead, and they run down the stairs and they reach the bottom. However, a wall would then make itself known, with Deku then tapping Kirishima, who speeds up and bursts with chakra before then kicking through it. The hell was that? Asked Rocklock. I sped him up, said Deku, as he ran forward with everyone who hasn't seen his ability being a bit put off, but it's amazing nonetheless. Let's just go. They run ahead, only to then be told to stop by Mirio. The hall, it's all messed up, he said. Looking forward, they saw everything was twisting and turning, as Night-Eye would then look to Deku, and with a nod, he would look to the ceiling and at the walls, while the officers would ask what was going on. Midoriya developed the ability to see life force through objects very recently, said Night-Eye. How many quirks does this kid have? The officers thought. And this is when Deku would actually point to a corner to the left before then releasing a beam, and this beam would phase through the walls and reach the man doing everything, and Mirio would then phase right in that direction and fight him. The two were then catapulted out as Mirio would then come to land before then hitting with the marble and freezing him as well. Quickly, the heroes then see how easy things have been and how much more efficient the raid has been due to just one child. So they take advantage of it and just move even faster, even though their pride is a little bit hurt because it's a child. Everyone would soon split up and ended up facing against villains who attacked them, while Aizawa, Night-Eye, Deku, and Mirio just kept going forward. They soon would run down a hall and see 2 people up ahead, so Deku speeds up Mirio, who runs and phases through Chrono while grabbing Eri and stopping in an open area. Hero Sashisaki, as he then turns when he's then met by the gaze of a smiling Deku, and all he could think of was how badly he fucked up. He begins to fall while Chrono is then hit to the stomach by one of Night-Eye's own tools that Deku actually took inspiration from, you know what it is, and the henchman would then fall to the floor as he and his buster are picked up by Deku, who turns to face a crying Eri in Mirio's arms. Okay, I'm really not good with kids, we're here. Yeah, said Deku. The little girl was surprised that everything was over so soon that she would start to cry into Mirio's arms as he tried to comfort her, and Deku only gets more freaked out, asking how Mirio does that. He saved her, the rest just involves us being by her side. And you can do all that queasy stuff. I'm heading back, he said, as he would then turn, swinging the bodies of the villains, making Night-Eye and Aizawa duck, and as he heads out, Night-Eye would then say, is he aware that we've only gotten this far due to his quirk? Oh no, he's very well aware. He's just more of a combatant type, said Aizawa. Just like that, everything has come to an end, as Eri is now in better hands, and all the Yakuza are arrested while Eri is taken to a hospital, and the students meanwhile return to class, and they feel satisfied they have saved the little girl. And the school festival will soon be announced, and clearly 1A gets to work on it to appease Dotei. The fact that they think that someone owes them an apology for being attacked by villains is stupid. I'm just gonna say that now. That always pissed me off. How is it their fault if villains want to attack? I don't blame the villains, nigga. Whatever. So they start to work on the festival. Jiro chooses to be their lead musician and vocalist because she's awesome at it. Deku and Bakugo don't really agree though. They find it stupid, just like me. And then a few days later, Mirio and Deku called in to see Eri, and so Mirio comes with a food basket as they enter a room, and as he takes a seat by her, he would offer it up to her as it would be filled with apples, but Deku would simply stand because he doesn't know how to interact with kids still. So, how are you feeling? Asked Mirio. Eri would then put the basket aside, saying she was okay. I'm sorry, people definitely got hurt because of me, didn't they? Mirio, however, says no one blames her and no one was hurt, as Deku would then say, of course they weren't, I was there. How did you manage to make this about you? Asked Mirio. As Deku would say he's amazing in many ways, and this is when he comes to lock eyes with Eri, so he actually approaches her and kneels down, saying, I can rewind time too, you know. Really? Asked Eri as she will almost jump out of her bed, and Deku says yes, but he's only developed it recently. If you won't believe in yourself that you're in control, then you won't have any. Quirks are psychological as they are physical. No one blames you. As a matter of fact, that's why we're inviting you to an awesome festival. Mirio would then pick up on what Deku just says, and he says, yeah, they have candy apples, like a bunch of other stuff. They're even sweeter than the ones I'm giving you. She begins to drool at the very thought of this, with Deku then asking if she would like to actually come, and with a nod she would say yes, as Deku turns to see Aizawa just outside, and he says, I'll ask Nezu, but it's probably fine. You hear that? Awesome, right? Deku would say. Eri would then, at this point, try to smile to show her genuineness, but finds it hard to, as she apologizes, which makes the two realize that she really has not been saved yet. And Deku then reaches his hand over her scarred arms, and this is when a glow would appear, and her arm starts to rewind as do her legs, and she feels it as she would then stand to find the scars all over her body gone. It's really scary, but it can also do stuff like this. That's amazing, right? You just need to control it. I can help you with that, said Deku. She'd be very happy that someone that has the same power as her could apply it in this way, so much so that it made her actually smile in that moment, because she realized that her quirk is not just for destroying, it can also heal, which blinded the two because it was just too cute. Good job, Midoriya, said Mirio. Like I said, I'm amazing in many ways. As time passes, they stay with her until they have to leave, and her mind would be much better and much at ease because she's never seen anyone with similar power set to her help people in such a way, and it gives her hope for herself. One day, meanwhile, would reconvene and keep talking about their ideas for the festival and going to classes, and it mattered more than ever now because the festival was about a month away. On the way back to the dorms one day, however, Deku would then hear some people bad-mouthing them as he then turns to some of them, but they quickly avert their gaze. The hell you say? Self-conceited? Says the bastards who feel like they need an apology for us being attacked. Deku was about to attack them and beat the hell out of them, but Kirishima and Tokoyami would just barely hold him back as he rages, asking them to repeat what they just said about his friends. The group of students are already scared off, however, and if anything, we're embarrassed because it's not like they asked to be attacked. Again, that's like really stupid to be like angry about. Like, come on. Deku does eventually calm down, and as the class enters the common area in their dorm, Deku would instantly yell, "Screw the original plan! I'm not gonna do all this for some petty little shits." Agree, they can f right off, said Bakugo. Yuri, however, says that it could really turn out great, but Bakugo says that's not the point. Don't you feel pissed at all? They're hating us because we're doing better. Sucks to be them, I guess. They're not just gonna easily accept people they hate, so if we're gonna do this, we gotta do it right, said Deku. We gotta murder the whole school with music, the two would say, as the class would then become invigorated at how motivated they are. I'm gonna go train. Call me up when you got something else to talk about, said Deku. And as he walks out, Bakugo would then say he's probably feeling some type of way since the villains were after him. I didn't even think about that, said Ida. But you're totally right. We can't do this for self-satisfaction, said Hagakure. Now the trajectory of thinking and the planning would change. Now they were just going to put on the most crazy performance they could ever think of, not just to appease these people. They were like going to go crazy and make the crowd go wild. And as that month comes to pass, the groups are made, and it consists of the band, the stage team, and the dancers. And Bakugo, Momo, Jiro, Tokoyami, and Deku, who knows how to play the bass, they're in the band. The staging team has Koda, Todoroki, Kirishima, Sero, and Aoyama, and the dancers has Mineta, Mina, Sato, Ojiro, Shoji, Aoyama, Uraka, Ida, and Tsuyu. And during their preparations, Deku and Mirio would actually bring Eri over to meet everyone and look at the preparations for the festival, and she had a lot of fun. She even got the caramel apple before she went back to the hospital. But on the final day of the festival, Deku sent out to go buy some equipment. The team is missing, and well, he's the fastest, so he does come back like really fast. But as he's running back with some bags in hand, he almost bumps into someone. With the spin, though, he would then dodge them while apologizing, and Junto would then say, "It's no problem." Labara at this point would then tug on his coat, saying, "Yeah, that's the kid, right?" "Yes, I'm well aware." "Shall we postpone our plans for today?" asked Gento, as Labara would then say yes, definitely, and they go back home not wanting to go to UA after realizing they were way over their heads. Deku looks at you once and you freeze. They're ambitious. They're not stupid. They know that they can't just win against someone who looks at you once and you freeze. Like, as soon as they fight, Deku looks at them once and they won't be able to do crap. I'm not going to draw that out. I'm good. I don't want to embarrass them too much. Deku and Yue meanwhile party, and he and his class put on a concert so amazing that those present forgot that they actually hated them in any way. And now we're gonna have a 20-year time skip. Yeah, sorry. No war arc. We find Deku walking into a cemetery as he comes to a grave, the grave of his old master, teacher Jiraiya. He lays down a rose and stood straight with a smile before then taking out a magazine as he puts it down near the flowers along the rose, along with the many other offerings around his grave given to the hero for all the things he has done. He's very loved. But Deku is interrupted by a call. As he takes it, he quickly then enters his cloaked state, and he then leaps out to the streets, and he would tell the police calling him that he'd be there soon. But quickly, another person then calls, and he then picks it up. "Hey, Yuri, when are you getting home? Mom says you need a break," she'd say. "I'm coming back soon. Just tell her to give me like 5 minutes." She would then say okay and hang up as Deku would then speed up, and he soon starts to see a band of villains because he's like really fast. He's already arrived, and they'd be causing mayhem while Bakugo and Todoroki would be trying to restrain many of them, but their leader has the ability to just melt things he touches, so this makes Todoroki's ice useless. People are being evacuated as the security perimeter is then put up, but as they look to the sky, many will see Deku arriving and are filled with delight. "It's Kronos! Finally!" "Oh, Deku, what took you so long?" said Bakugo, as he would then release a massive explosion at the villain, but uses his own man as a shield, only to then be kicked in the face and freeze in time. Deku would then land and speed himself up as he would strike him in the face exactly 100 times before then resuming his time, and the villain will be so messed up that he just simply falls over. "Who the hell told you to do this shit on my turf, huh?" He would then stump the villain's head while berating him, and Todoroki would say, "He's out cold, you do realize that, right? Sucks to be him." "Also, you guys want to come for Thanksgiving?" Eri says she wants to see everyone. "I'm free," said Bakugo. "Me as well," said Todoroki. In the past years, Deku had become number 1, obviously, as his mother has also adopted Yuri, obviously. And as a matter of fact, she's a pretty famous hero and has gotten control over her quirk very well. Deku has also become the central reason as to why crime rates have gone down, not just in Japan, but over the whole world, due to letting scientists harness the ability that he has to freeze people in just time. So that's very mass-produced. And the one person he gave the opportunity to start this was Mei, so good for her. She got business, bro. But this is the end. Use your imagination to fill the future world whatever you want to and whatever you find fitting. But this is the end of the series. I hope you have enjoyed this full story. More to come later on. Working on a new Deku What If. It's actually kind of promising. The plot is pretty interesting, and I could probably just have Deku be more OP, which is really fun for me, while also giving the story more substance, I guess you could say, because the world is going to be more affected by someone he knows. But I don't want to say yet, because if I say, I feel like after that some jinx is going to happen. I'm going to be bored of the series and it's never going to come out. You know how this year goes with me. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's end this here. Yeah, it's the end of the full story. Hope you had fun. Peace.
Yeah, you better listen. I'm bringing heat. You'll be a fan when I start rapping. Way I'll have your fucking head spinning. I'm known as spit vicious. Release bombs and go tick tick. Boom, you blow me that head missing. I'm a phenomenon. Stacking cheese like it's Parmesan. 8 different flows, call me Octomom. I'm moving fast like the Autobahn, and I'm independent, so I'm not your fucking